Nice taking it in. All right, we got a big episode here. Big episode. We got a very important guest in the building. My man Awkward Andy's back.
What's
My
up,
man
Andy?
Awkward Andy's back, dude.
Andy.
Round 2, you know what I mean? He said 3 things last week, and he's shooting for 4 this week, man.
Progress.
But also, we got Justin back in the building. Justin missed out last week.
I did, and I wasn't invited.
No, we missed you. It's the whole full mic setup, so someone gets voted off the island.
Which is me every time, apparently. Every other show, I'm not invited. That's all right.
We're going to get more mics, so I don't have to
I don't
make
bring
these...
anybody to this show. I get it.
No, wait, I'll fix it, I promise. Last but not least. Oh, don't you look at me like
What's
that.
up?
Don't you look
I
at
want
me.
a good fucking introduction.
Oh, man.
You dragged me all the way out here.
First off, can we see? I had a special shirt. You gonna be able to zoom in on this fucking beauty?
On his tit. You gotta
Yeah, I'll stand up.
flex it a little bit.
I'll fucking stand up for this shit. Look at this.
Hey, Chris, can you talk into the mic?
Look at that. Damn.
Is this the walk?
That's the walk.
That's the walk.
You gotta kind of waddle a little bit.
I cannot have my man in the house without repping a Snaz Daddy t-shirt by our sponsor, our sponsor, Rich Print Shop. You know what I mean? Rich Print Shop in the building. So this guest that we have here, man, where do I start?
You can just move past it.
Nah, there's so much, man. I'm like, very few people that come in my life that make me giddy like a little girl. There's something that you do that to me like instantly makes me giddy. I first met you a long time ago through J-Mac. Shout out J-Mac. He sent me over to you were an apprentice at a tattoo shop, and he sent me over there to get a tattoo. I was in a halfway house. I probably had $60 to my name, and you were probably the only person that was going to tattoo me for $60 at that time.
You had more money than I did.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yep. And you did the blessed on my neck. The only tattoo I've ever gotten where the tattoo artist was telling me to shut up and that I was acting like a little bitch, and I appreciated that. And you also have this thing where you always make me laugh when you're tattooing me, which pisses me off so fucking bad because you don't want to laugh while getting tatted. But fast forward, we reconnected under some different circumstances. There was stuff in there between. I remember my youngest brother, but him getting his first tattoo illegally in a basement at your house. Prior to he was legal age of getting a tattoo, we actually came by there.
You can't say that.
I can't say that.
It's fine.
We'll edit it out if you don't want people knowing that you used to do underground bootleg tattoos in basements. Remember going by there with my brother Trey and my dad. Trey got his first tattoo in your basement, and then followed up my other brother. He got a tattoo from you, but this one was legal, I think. Was it legal? Yeah, you were legal by then.
Yeah, there was a weird little period where I left the shop, just kind of doing my own thing, got back into the shop environment.
Yeah. Rose from the underground.
Yeah.
All right, so then, so a lot of cool stuff in between, but then we reconnected again, and probably wasn't the brightest time in your life.
No, I mean, it was, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I can give you my version of it, and I'm going to ask you some questions and stuff like that. We'll get into some actual questions about that whole process, but my perspective of it, because it's funny, because I always talk about how I believe in God, I believe in the universe, and I believe in God works through people. And you came in my life at a time we hadn't seen each other in a long time, and I remember rolling up at a meeting, and you were outside smoking a cigarette, and I was like, oh shit, Jimmy, and I was all excited that I seen you, and you'd seen better days at this point, looking a little rough.
Oh yeah, actually, I left the meeting in anxiety, and as I tried to get out of the room as fast as I possibly could, you saw me coming towards you, and you followed me outside.
Yes.
You were like, what's up, dude? And then everything was better.
It was crazy because I actually, you were at that meeting. Obviously, you needed that meeting for, you were going through a process, I believe.
Right.
And I was at a tough point in my life when I was at that meeting and going through a really bad breakup at that time. And I remember connecting with you outside. And although you were in pain through what you were going through and I was in pain through what I was going through, I found us standing outside the meeting and laughing. Which is pretty fucking weird, man. Like you're in the midst of coming off of trying to come off of drugs, and I'm in the midst of trying to heal from my fucking heart being smashed at the time. You know,
Right.
I was at the stage of the breakup where she was like deliberately trying to hurt me via social media.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where you're posting a picture of your new boyfriend, and you're like, "You make me so happy, the happiest I've ever been," type shit, and you just like you ignore it, but. It's because you don't want them to know that it's effective, but it lands every time they post. And so
was that your weeping self time when you started
yes,
weeping every morning?
But this is why this was.
And I don't even mean that in a bad. I mean,
yes, this
I'm
was
not making fun of you for that. That legit
you
is
can
what was going on.
You can now making fun of me. But this is why this was so fucking incredible that it connected, that me and Jimmy connected at that moment, because it was during the weeping Chris period of time. There was lots of weeping. And laughter was a fucking foreign thing for me at that time. Anybody that's going through heartbreak, like smashed, just your heart destroyed, that's the closest thing that you could probably kind of get to know a little bit what it's like to come off of drugs. Right? Like that's, I mean, Slane talked about it in the first episode, like they occupy the same receptors, like the love, like that feeling, the endorphins. And then when you're coming off a heartbreak, when we go fucking crazy, we're literally detoxing off another human being.
Right.
The obsessive mind, all that shit. And we act out of our character. We do super dumb shit. But all right, so we connect. And you were on the methadone clinic at the time.
Yep.
Trying to come off the methadone clinic, and you were telling me about it, and it was fucking crazy because you're trying to get into detoxes and they wouldn't take you because
I was too high up on my methadone. Yeah. So that was an insane process. You know, I wanted to get off of everything and I just didn't know how to fucking do it. So you know, I reached out to this one dude, Joey, that I know. And I think, you know, you might know him too.
Yep.
Yeah, I reached out to Joey and he's like, I'll take you in a meeting. And then from there, he took me, I think the second meeting I went to was the one that I saw you at. And I was just trying to figure out, like, all right, I want to get off of everything. I'm fucking over this shit. But I didn't know how to do it. You know, I lived in fear for so long just of not knowing, you know, there's the fear of the unknown. But it's like, it seemed one of those things that was impossible for me, you know? But then going to a couple meetings and, like, just being honest, being like, look, I'm on the methadone clinic. I'm just right now. I think at the time I was on the methadone clinic, but I was also withdrawing from everything else I was taking on top of the methadone clinic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to, you know, to come into meetings for people to tell me, I got phone numbers for beds, you know, trying to find a place that had a bed. And everyone I talked to, they were like, well, you're too high up on methadone, so you got to go down. So then I started going into the clinic and I'm like, take me down. And they were like, you're going against medical advice. You're going down too fast. And I was like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know, just get me out of here. Yeah. So I had to go down, you know, to a low enough dose where I could go into detox. So I was in that process when I came across you.
And so we immediately connect. I remember like the anxiety, how full of anxiety you had in that because it is scary, you know, when you're coming into the halls and you don't know like who's in there, what do I do, who can I, like, it's a very uncomfortable feeling. Like that's the first act of surrender that we have, right? Especially in the transition from coming off of drugs. That's an act of surrender, just like walking into a room full of strangers being like, I'm fucked up, someone help me. But then you're saying it inside. You don't even have the courage to truly say it out loud yet. So you're just kind of like hoping for a moment where you can have an interaction where someone forces you to communicate what's really going on with you inside.
Right.
Which is fucking awesome, man. That I was walking in as you were walking out. And so you went through the process. You ended up going to detox.
Right. Yeah.
And
it took, I think, a couple weeks to get down from where I was at to where I needed to be to go in. And I was still fucking.
Oh man, I remember you were literally, so you got out of detox and we were getting up. I think I brought you to a convention. We drove all the way to this convention, and you're like fucking hallucinating at this point, coming off of all drugs. You know, anybody that's ever been to a convention, like you walk in and just people are hugging you everywhere every turn you go. So me and Jimmy walk right into this convention. Within 3 seconds, dude, we see Tommy from Fall River and another guy, and this dude Tommy does these strong, long embraces of hugs.
Yeah,
that's long.
I remember
awkwardly
that.
long.
I remember that.
Yeah. And you just got embraced immediately, like walking in, just like hugs and all this shit. And then you experienced your first time like being in a room for a clean time countdown.
Yeah.
And it was wild. You just kind of jumped right in, which was fucking awesome because first off, it takes a lot of courage, man. The process of like, okay, I made a decision, like my life's become unmanageable and it's time to like do something, especially not fully grasping or understanding how recovery works, just kind of taking people's suggestions and that's what you were doing. And I remember going to that convention with you and that was the beginning process. And in spite of you still detoxing and all that stuff, like we laughing and finding humor and all this shit and fucking, then the process of like recovery began, right? Like, so during that transition, like you were trying to get like come off the drugs and all that stuff, and I could see the powerful like transition from like going from one place to like this new place and seeing you start to embrace recovery, right? Like all like the love that you receive when you walk into halls. Of all these other people that have walked in our shoes and have been where we've been, right? That are like, you can do this. And during that same time, and this is how I connected. I was at a process in my life where I was like fucking dying, and you were at a process where you were dying, and we ended up crossing paths, and I know you've said before, like I played an integral part like early on in your recovery, but you literally played just as equal of an intricate part where I was at, because I was a dude with time going through pain, and trying to suppress and handle on my own because I was worried about perception, right? Because I didn't want to be Weepy Chris. No one knew I was Weepy Chris. You know what I mean? No one knew I was literally like breaking down. And you have one of these gifts, man, where when I say you make me giddy like a girl, no one makes me fucking belly laugh harder than Mr. Snaz, you know? And you literally, during that time, as I was walking that journey of recovery with you, you were walking that journey with me, teaching me how to laugh again. Like, I would be able to, you were the one of the few people that knew how fucking devastated I was and like what I was going through and all that shit. And, you carried me through that. Like one of the few people that fucking literally carried me through my process where I was like deteriorating internally. And then to watch like you fucking flourish, man.
It's crazy.
For anybody that doesn't know, Jimmy was just on Inkmaster. I didn't even get into that because I
Well,
wanted.
no, I mean it's great. It authentically is telling a story that I'm actually roped into, because anybody that knows Jimmy doesn't know Jimmy as that. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's
most people
that's a hell
who
of an
watch this show, and it's weird because this is actually one of the most intimate shows we've had so far, which I wouldn't expect with you sharing.
Yeah,
I gotta get this shit out of the way because I want to get to my relationship with Jimmy is just fucking pure, just dicks and fucking awkwardness and fucking and more dicks.
And then dicks on top of that.
Yeah.
Just bring them all in.
Oh man, literally, no one makes outside of my youngest brother Trey, who you know, you and him are the only people that can make me fucking.
Trey is one of the funniest people I've ever met.
Oh, the two of you together. Shout out Trey. I wish he was on this podcast too. Dude, even at that time, we were working recovery. Like we would go to meetings and then we go to the Squire strip club after.
Yeah, and drink like 7 Red Bulls.
And drink Red Bulls, yeah. And I required that because
Was Pep with you?
Nah. It was a me and Jimmy thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was like one of those things where we'd kind of like, let's just get out of here before anyone knows where we're going. We don't need the shame and the guilt. You know? Let us cry by ourselves.
Yeah.
I was a shamer back then.
Shame.
That would have been me.
But I just needed to be anywhere where this dude was. Like when I was with you, you made me feel all right through laughter. And I talked about this on the podcast about how my brother, like whenever I go through tragedy, he consoles me with dark humor.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel better. And you're similar in nature. So I just wanted to give some context to my relationship with you and how I've watched your process. Of course, your famous Snaz daddy, Jimmy Snaz from Inkmaster. Of course, you're this fucking world-renowned tattoo artist. Just first off, don't get twisted. You were an apprentice when you fucking did my neck. And the machine buzzed on my face, on my chin.
It did. I think it hit your chin.
Yeah,
and it shorted out and electrocuted you.
It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah,
it did the same thing to me. The chest is like triggers something in your chin.
No. This was like legit. This was a malfunction.
Oh,
it was like a shitty. I know you guys don't tattoo, but it was like a cam machine. They're like $30. It was like a $30 tattoo machine from China.
Yeah,
and that's what I used to tattoo your neck.
Yeah. And I walked into a tattoo shop with all licensed tattoo artists, and I went to an apprentice, the one apprentice that they had in there. Yeah, because J-Mac said, you got to go see my boy Jimmy. And it's the same thing when I walked in the tattoo shop. You instantly made me feel comfortable and made me laugh. So there's some context to that, and we'll move through that. But I want to let you talk because I won't shut the fuck up. So we go through that transition, and now here you are, Snaz Daddy, Jimmy Snaz, Inkmaster. I'm watching you on TV like a fucking proud, like it made me feel, when I tell you love in my heart, like it was the coolest thing ever. And my favorite was when your brother beat you up. That
on
was
TV.
Yeah, that was incredible.
He threw me over a couch.
Oh, I've never been more excited for anything in my life. Shout out Kyle. He was amazing on that too, man. But
Kyle killed it.
Killed it, dude. Crushed it. And that was my favorite episode when he pushed you over the couch.
I'm glad that made air.
Oh, serious build up to it.
Yeah.
They like put highlights of it.
Yeah, they used it a lot. They used
did.
that clip like coming up. And it was like they just like you never knew when it was gonna come. That's what I was saying earlier. You know, you gotta do that with your show.
Yeah.
Just like you guys like with you guys naked.
Yeah.
You know, it's just blurred. Like coming up, and people are always gonna wait and hope it's the episode where you guys are finally naked.
We just never drop it.
Never gonna be.
Not till we get at least 25 subscribers will we drop that hot shit. So how do we go from that transition? I want to get into your because I heard you talk briefly about it on the show, but let's dive deep.
Well, I mean, first I want to touch on like our relationship. You know, I mean, we haven't seen each other in a while, probably a couple of years. We haven't really talked much. But no matter what I was going through, those times that you bring up where we would just like sit at a McDonald's fucking drive-through and like laugh till we were crying and like choking on our fucking food. Yeah. But then we would be silent because we were depressed.
Yeah.
Like all the chemicals just like were released from our fucking brains, and and then it would be like a quiet ride home, and then we'd park in front of my house, and you would like give me some shit to look forward to. You know, like the way that you talk to people. I mean, you're magnetic. Obviously, I would say there's a lot of people that are just attracted to your wealth of knowledge and how you carry yourself. So it's like we'd go through all that, but there was serious growth for me in those situations because of everything that you taught me. And it's like, you know, no matter how many years went by or whatever the fuck we're doing, you know, you're doing your businesses and everything else you've got going on. I'm doing the TV thing, but it's like I've always thought about those things that you've said to me. So it was like we kind of reconnected recently after the Inkmaster thing. You know, I made it to the finale. And I'm there for, you know, a couple months filming, and I come home and I was like a fish out of water, and nobody knew what the fuck I was going through. Yeah. You know, like I felt I wasn't, you know, coming off of drugs, but I felt alone like how I did when I was ready to make that change and, you know, get off drugs.
For sure.
And it was like one of those situations. Everyone's like, "Oh, that's great. Like, I'm glad you're back." And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. You know, because I was just in this like extreme environment that's so exhausting mentally, you know, where you're putting everything you have into it. And then to make it to the finale and realize all those months of everything you just went through aren't shit, because now the real thing starts, you know? With anyone that's unfamiliar with Inkmaster, you know, it's basically, typically you have 3 people that make it to the finale, and, you know, you do back pieces or whatever. We had to do 3 big tattoos, or 2 big tattoos and 1 small one with multiple styles, a couple styles I wasn't versed in. But, you know, either way, I came out like feeling like I was a fish out of fucking water.
Yeah.
And one of the first things I did once I realized that I didn't feel whole, I didn't feel like myself, you know, like I felt like I like left something behind there. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those situations with while I was there filming, you know, a lot of people don't like to talk about God or whatever, you know, but there was something I felt there. And then I left that, and it was like it was gone. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? And the only person that I wanted to talk to was you. Because even though we hadn't talked in a couple of years, it was like I knew whatever the fuck you were going to say to me, even if you didn't say anything, even if we just laughed about our dicks or whatever, I knew that you were going to make me feel better. And it felt like at the time there was no one else that was going to give me that. So you were the first, you know, after being back for a couple of weeks or whatever, like I knew I had to reach out. So I did. And, you know, again, you came to the rescue. You helped me, you know, just kind of like wrestle with my own thoughts, you know, and realize that I was like, you know, I was kind of sabotaging myself, overthinking things, doubting myself. And you were like, dude, fucking, you got this, you know? And I was like, all right, cool. You know? So, I mean, you know, just to bring it back with our relationship, with where it was at to, you know, where it's at now, you know, and the reason why I'm sitting here, I think, is because I reached out to you when I got back, you know.
It's I mean, the coolest shit ever with this whole process, and you haven't even scratched the surface yet of what you're capable of, Jimmy. And like, so this is how this works. Justin once did for me what I did for you, and it's the same with Andy. Like, we all need this, just human beings in general, right? Because we're tied to, and Justin can jump in on this as well, but unfortunately we have that wiring in our brain that sometimes can consist of like the negative self-talk that's like the creator of anxiety, doubt, and all this stuff. And even the most fucking talented people in the world suffer from this. Like I've always viewed you the way that people view you on Inkmaster. And although you've just been on Inkmaster, I still don't even think you view yourself the way that, like, I know how I remember Justin texting me when I was on America's Best Dance Crew on MTV, and like just constantly like shooting me texts like, you're doing it, this is incredible, like and I was just like riddled with fear. And it's all stuff that he used to say to me that I could do prior to going on there, but it's so hard to like, it's a process to get that confidence, right? And even when you do get it for brief moments, it's a process to hang on to that confidence, because we're so sensitive sometimes mentally. Especially like, I understand the transition of coming back home. Like we were out there for 2 months too, similar, locked in a hotel in Burbank, California, with wranglers that told us when we could go outside. I actually quit smoking before I went out there, and I picked up smoking by episode 3. Yeah. I was chain smoking, like fucking. It was so brutal. It was stress induced because it's good for TV. They used to film all our episodes, and they'd have to edit it out because we swear. We would just be in there farting and swearing, and there was no good content for MTV at the time with that shit. But I remember like some points being on the show and like crying, calling my mom back home because I couldn't do it, and then that emotional roller coaster of like, we did well, the everybody hitting me up, and then we went home and up and down, and then coming back home, there is that like, holy shit moment, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's like, when I got home, I didn't have a truck, I didn't have a vehicle, I had an apartment with 6 dudes, you know what I mean? Like it was like time to figure out like, now what, you know? And like, so then I went from being on top of the world kinda to like this weird emotional roller coaster to then being home, and it's like everybody's all excited, and then when I shut the door, it was like a serious transition to like to like get back to it. But
the first thing I think my girl, you know, because my girl was excited to see me. I'd been gone, barely had time to talk to her and all that stuff. And I came home. She took me on a whale watch.
Nice.
Dude. Like I'd love you if you're watching this, but like she knows, she says all the time that, like, you know, because we started dating, we just started this relationship, and it was, you know, a great relationship, and I left to film, you know, for a couple months, and she got a war vet back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, literally, I came back like, oh, hold me. It was fucking awful. So she's all excited to see me. She took me out on a whale watch, and I was surrounded by all these old people on a tiny boat in the ocean, you know, with everything I just had going on, and it was like fucking terrifying. Like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to like interact with people, you know.
No, for sure.
So
it's a transition.
Yeah.
It's why I wanted you on this podcast too, man, especially obviously because I love you to death. You're literally one of my favorite people in the whole fucking world, but also because your story is so fucking powerful. We were talking outside why I do this podcast is to speak to the 10 to 15 years ago Jimmy Snaz that was terrified, or the 16 years ago, 10 years ago Chris that was terrified. The Justin has a million years clean, so I don't know. We got to go back 40 years when Justin was scared to do some shit. Even Andy, you know, like this, it's been a year now that you've been in business and construction, and prior to that, like all the fears that lead up to that. This is for those guys out there that are going through this process. There's another Jimmy Snaz somewhere terrified, the most talented fucking guy in the world that is just riddled with fear, that has negative self-talk and doubt. That's just...
It's everybody at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's not just another Jimmy Snaz. It's all of us.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their shadow self. Carl Jung identified it as your shadow self, the piece of you that you've created that isn't good enough, that can't do it, that, you know what I mean? And the truth is that the reason you need other people is because we just see the talent in each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like if you surround yourself with the right people, they'll help you get wherever you want to go.
Right.
You know, because they see in you what you don't see in yourself sometimes. Or even if you start to experience it, it's easy to like default back. Like I was doing some meditations in the morning on like some love, you know, not some manly shit, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Dude, yeah.
And I haven't done it in the last 2 weeks, and I've just been like a little bit more in fear.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm like, but I need to get back to doing it because it's like I believe in it.
Right.
I believe in like caring about people and being out there, but there's a piece of me that rejects that. It's interesting that I'm actually fascinated that you came back that way, because one of the things about you that I've always admired is how you can authentically just be yourself with your personality. A lot of people don't have that in them, and you do. You know, I mean, you showed it in the shows, but you show it in general. You're pretty outgoing.
Well, it just kind of like for me, it's not just, you know, the drug stuff, but I think my whole life, you know, like most of us, you know, we kind of grow up looking for ways to fit in. For me, it was, you know, with my particular story, this may not resonate with everybody and doesn't have to, but, you know, it's like I grew up in the projects in a kind of rich town, you know, and so I never really felt comfortable because it's like, I never felt confident or, you know, because it's one thing if we're all poor, you know what I mean? But like going to school every day, and it's like, I just always felt so far outside that I spent a lot of time growing up trying to feel accepted or trying to keep up, you know, or fit in. I would say keep up is probably the best word, you know? And then it gets to the point, at least it did for me, where I was just kind of like, man, fuck you guys. You know what I mean? And I just realized, like, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I ever really had a choice but to be myself, you know?
Yeah.
So.
But here you are famous and like, well, no, I mean.
I don't know. Like, so, I mean, you know the deal. Like,
yeah, you're more famous than me, all right? I don't got any fucking TV shows to talk about. I didn't come back and fucking feel bad about myself after fucking.
Don't worry, you'll get your chance
on fucking television. All right. So I'm still waiting for that moment. But either way,
Justin wants to be on Oprah.
I do. I want to, dude. Oprah, where are you, Oprah? I'm looking for a show on your network. Okay, I'm not sure what it's gonna be called, but something.
Something. Yeah.
But you know, it's now that you've gained a lot of success and done all this stuff. It's like it's so interesting when we're children. We learn to size each other up and all this other stuff, but like it doesn't fucking matter. It's such misteachings that we're all subscribing to at a young fucking age that literally misteaches beliefs that our society lives by, that separates us and makes us not okay and makes us like fucking live in our shadow selves, not embrace, when you talk about feeling fucking dark and being able to go to Chris, every person on this earth has that, but we're not taught to fucking talk to somebody about it. We're taught to fucking deny it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then we use drugs and alcohol over it, or we fucking eat too much, or we, whatever it is, whatever you got, you know what I mean? But there's nobody on this earth that doesn't have a fucking shadow self. Right. But we're not taught to embrace it, which is the solution. We're not taught to authentically be our full selves, And so, but the more that we're going to, the more we can teach our children that, the more that we can teach, society will change for the better. I'm not saying society's bad. I mean, we're blessed to live in America and we truly are when you look at other parts of the world and other stuff. But at the same note, it's like authentically being yourself is the point of this lifetime, if you ask me. It's not about, and so I think it's interesting though, because I'm a big believer in the law of attraction and, attracting what you are. But being your authentic self will actually help you to prosper in any avenue of life, whatever you choose that to be. And it doesn't necessarily mean you be on TV, but like you're an artist. Right. So you embrace that piece of you, which is a creative piece of God that God's given all of us. Yeah. All of us have creative ability. We just express it in different ways, And when you can embrace that, it starts to help you, live some path and purpose. And then all of a sudden you go from, in ways we're fortunate too to be addicts though, because our obsessive nature, I feel like goes both ways. Yeah. We can take the obsessive nature of being a drug addict and turn it into obsession of things that we're really good at. And all of a sudden, you're, this amazing tattoo artist.
No, I remember when you told me that you were going on the show. My first thing that I was talking about with my brothers is I hope he's Jimmy Snaz. I hope you introduced the world to you. And when I watched it and you did, I was like, oh, he's gonna fucking crush it. That because obviously your talent. You're an amazing artist, graffiti. A lot of people, if you've seen him on Inkmaster, like you started out doing this shit. I won't get too much into that because we know we got J-Mac coming home. Yeah. And he'll kill us.
We got to save some good stuff for Jay.
Yeah, we'll save all that stuff for Jay. But the best part of you is who you are as a human being, man. And you embrace. You're a sensitive dude and you're honest about it, and yet you're authentically yourself, which empowers other people to be authentically themselves. Like when even myself, like I find I'm pretty extroverted, but then I would hold back sometimes. But whenever I would hang out with you, I was fucking, I was free as a bird, you know what I mean? I was fucking, I have pictures of us in these track suits, these fucking shiny silver
Oh my God,
tracks.
I forgot about those.
Yeah, dude, I have all these crazy pictures, dude. But you pull that, you're infectious with your personality, and that's like a beautiful quality and characteristic and trait. And you're also the type of dude that doesn't receive compliments well and stuff like that. It makes you uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
You don't like being, that's humility too, which I respect as well, because even like I've watched your talent, and if Jay was on this show, he'd be talking about, I've fucking been telling people about Jimmy Snaz since 1993. God damn it, there's no bigger Jimmy Snaz fan than J Mac, and that's why
I'm a big J Mac fan too.
For
J
sure.
Mac is one of my biggest influences as a kid, as an artist, and I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't link up with him.
Oh, and he was an integral part in my recovery too. He would yell at me the way he would yell. You know how Jay does it when he decides he's your friend and he loves you. You have a yell relationship where you frustrate him if you're not living up to your potential and what he wants you to live by.
What are you doing, kid?
Yeah. But I remember him telling me, you're going to this tattoo shop and you're seeing Jimmy Snaz. He sent me to you like, you're seeing the apprentice in there. Go past the guys that are
the $30 machine.
Go see my boy. But what a wild ride, right? So this journey, man. So talk to us about the show. Like, what was it like being on there, and like how did you like handle like because it's fucking anxiety driven, man. Like
there's so many different moving parts of it, you know. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I would never take it back at all. And I learned so much about myself as a person being in a room with 20 other people and working with, you know, when you put yourself in a room with 20 other strangers and you're all kind of after that one goal, but you also have time to kind of get to know each other and feel with each other, because really it's the contestants are the only ones going through this stuff together. You know, you kind of really start to figure out who you are as a person when you're in a room with 20 other strangers. Like, what role do I play in this room? Yeah. You know, if this guy's going to act like that, how do I diffuse it? Or whatever route you want to take. So I learned a lot about myself, obviously being there. And then there's so much more to it too, because there's all the stress and the emotions and the fears that you go through when you're going, you know, like, all right, especially if it's your second time, like it was for me this past season. And then you get back, and for me personally, it was tough getting back, and we had a couple months to kind of prepare for finale stuff before things started to air. And then things start to air, and it's like emotions kind of come back, and they almost hit you in different ways too, where like after the first season that I did was with Inkmaster, after the first season of Inkmaster that I did, season 11, I got back and things started to air, and it was like new and exciting, and it's like, wow, this is great. I'm getting support, you know, you're getting and you know, you pay attention to some of the bad comments and all that stuff too. Yeah. But it's interesting to see how people are perceiving you for the first time. You know, you're just, you know who you are, or maybe you don't, but hopefully you do, especially when you get to that level of publicity where everyone's there to like poke and pry and judge and critique, you know, your every move. So, you know, it was new and exciting. And then it's like after season 13, it was just like, it was kind of difficult, a little more difficult for me this time.
You know, it had to have been easy with your brother there the first season. That first season you're on?
In a way it was. In a way it was, especially being introduced to it, you know, and having someone there with you. But I think I did better the second time when it was just like kind of more me, you know. Nothing against Kyle. Kyle's great. I love competing with Kyle, you know, and he's my brother and I love him. But I maybe I just felt more confidence and freedom just being there by myself. I don't know. You know, it's really tough to figure that out. But one thing I will say is, like, you know, you kind of, you know, people like us, we talk about like the contents of the bag changing, right? And it was almost like being a part of it the first time, you kind of, this new rush of like people are messaging you and you get all this traffic on Instagram and people saying good things, people saying bad things. You almost get like addicted to that. And then it kind of fizzles out, because then the next season comes, season 12 comes, and they're the new guys, you know?
That's until it airs in other countries, and then
right.
What's your real? I start getting fans from China. Like the funniest shit is 3 years after like your season's aired in America, like fucking Uruguay will get it, or some random country somewhere, and then all of a sudden you'll get like a broken English message on your Facebook wall, like, yeah, I the biggest fan. I'm like, yeah, I got one from fucking Indonesia or something, but my bad. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm more of aware of that now. Yeah. This being my second time, and like kind of understanding how to handle it, and realizing like trying not to fall for it as much, I guess.
No.
I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's not looking for the outside validation, just trying to
Well,
express. Because at the end of the day, you're on that show authentically expressing who God wants you to be.
Right.
There is a piece of that, but then it's easy to like flip that into ego of this is who you know what I mean? Because we're taught in society a little bit to like put a picture of who we are instead of just authentically be who we are. So when you talk about Instagram or you talk about other things, not that there's anything wrong with these things, you know what I mean? They're a part of our society.
But there can be.
But you can be looking for outside validation,
right, 100%.
To fill who you are. And anytime you're looking outside yourself to fill inside, you're looking inside out. You know what I mean? You're outside in, so you're gonna feel empty. If you're looking outside to feel good inside, you're actually looking in the wrong place.
You were way more confident to set like you was Jimmy Snaz the first time, but you was Snaz daddy on the new.
No, you were.
And you could tell like because
I was excited to be back. You know, it's so fucked up. Like it's like an abusive relationship or something. You know what I mean? You're like, oh man. And then finally you're like back in their living room and you're like, what's up? We're going to do this again.
Yeah.
You know, like, let's get fucking weird.
Yeah.
Whose phone are we breaking?
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. So, you know, I was happy to be back and I felt more confident as a tattooer because I learned so much. You know, my first run was season 11. But I guess what I'm just trying to say is like, you know, I now I kind of have more of an awareness of like seeing how attention like that can be very addicting, you know, and how if you let it, it will completely consume you and it takes away from everything else in your life, really, your work life, you know, your relationship. If you're sitting there just reading like, oh, what the fuck is this guy saying about me on the internet or whatever, because he saw me on TV. And it's like, I had to learn this time just to like kind of distance myself more than I did with season 11, because with season 11 it was new and exciting, and it's like this time I was like kind of more aware of how much attention I was giving it, because I was still in the competition. I was in the finale, and you know how far you get, and you do your best to, you know, respond to these people that are reaching out to you, because you never know how you can help them or whatever, especially if they feel a need. If they felt some sort of connection with you based on what they see on TV and they want to reach out, I mean, you know, you should always at least I think you should always do your best to, you know, kind of reciprocate.
Of course.
Talk to them a little bit. But try not to get so consumed by all the negativity that comes with social media. Yeah. You know, some people just go on there to troll.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
You know,
that was my fear with doing this podcast. Like forever, I was horrified. Fucking, just I mean, and I get like that first season when we went on MTV that first time, I was terrified because of just like how we'd be received. Because that no matter what, a lot of people say, oh, I don't give a fuck. But we all do. We all have that fear internally of like, how am I going to come off? How am I going to be perceived? Like waiting for the validation to come, right? Because especially with TV, like I think it did good, but I'll know once it's released and the comments come in. But then when you start to get a general idea, all right, enough people like what we do, then you can kind of be comfortable, because we're not always going to be for everybody, but we'll definitely be for somebody. This podcast is sponsored by Rich Print Shop. Rich Print Shop. But I mean, we start to let go of the attachment of that. Well, we do the best that we can, and it becomes more about, all right, I just want to push love and connectivity and reach out to the people that because you've touched a bunch of lives and you've inspired a bunch of people. And yes, we are indebted to that to some extent, and we do the best that we can to do that. But the negativity, we just got to accept that it's going to come, right? I can only look to the left so long before someone talks about how my big nose is fucking on this camera angle, you know what I mean? And I'm just going to have to accept that. And I'm also going to have to accept that this tooth's a fang and it catches my lip when I smile. And someone may say something about it, but I'm beating you to it, motherfuckers. Eminem, 8 Mile, B-Rabbit in this bitch.
Weeping.
Yeah. Andy, did you say something?
He did.
I've been waiting forever to say something.
Yeah. Say that thing, man. You know that thing.
I still don't know it.
Yep. One day you will, though. One day you will.
I fucking love this guy.
Awkward Andy is
he's
the
fucking-
best, dude. He'll
I
build
do
you.
my best.
He'll build you a house, dude. He'll renovate. He'll do. But you get him to speak 4 sentences in a row
And makes sense.
and make sense. Yeah, but it's all right. That's why we love you. People are gonna be like, "Who the fuck was the guy on the far right?"
I'm just listening, taking it in.
The best would have been if I told you just that. I didn't know who this guy was. He's just some
Like, is he with you?
I tell you,
Who's with your boy, Jimmy? I brought him.
Yeah. You would bring someone like
I
Andy.
carry a
What?
purse.
This is my agent.
Oh man, we're gonna take a quick break because I got a pee-pee and we'll cut. We're back from the pee-pee break. Yeah, we were just talking about how my brother was famous when he was he was on tour with my brothers. Just so you know, my brothers were on tour with Aaron Carter.
I know.
Yeah.
I know your brother
Yeah.
too.
But do you know Aaron Carter?
I don't.
Oh, I met him once.
I met him at a show in Peabody.
Yep, that's right.
He was high as fuck.
He might have been. Yeah. So do you. Yeah. My brother smokes like Snoop Dogg too. This is a recovery podcast, but the producer, not so much.
You got to take all the help you can get.
That's it, man. Good help's hard to find around here.
It's the next to boxing. It's medical marijuana.
Yeah,
They're coming with it. It's in trials.
That's good. Whatever helps, man. Multiple pathways to recovery. All pathways, I believe. Whatever process you need to go to better your life. Fuck it. As long as you're in a process of change and growth and evolution of self. Speaking of an evolution of self, Mr. Snaz, man, what a dope thing to get to watch your evolution like take place, man. It's cool to see it on TV. That's cool, but just to see it in person, like coming from where you came from. And just watching this like confidence building, like who you are, just coming into your own. You're 32 years old?
Yeah.
32 years young, man. Legally 32 years young.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what it means either, but I like it. Andy, your mic.
Legally, I'm 32.
Andy, we turned your mic off. Don't bother.
You've reached your word count.
Go ahead. What were you going to say, Andy?
I forgot.
All right, shut his mic back off. No, but to watch this evolution, man, like it's and I said it earlier, but you haven't even scratched the surface yet. What I've always known that what you'd become is just something, and it'll be hard for you to conceive, just the same as it was hard for me to even conceive my life today. And I know.
And again, you're just getting started. It's how I view it. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you know, when you're in your own shoes, you don't always take time to reflect on what you've accomplished. You're still so focused on what you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really tough to you know, it's weird for me to sit here with you guys. Like, you guys are my fucking friends, you know? And like for you guys to point things out in me that I don't even see or recognize every day because I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, well, because I look in context to like this dude that was, I used to fuck with you all the time, be like, Jimmy, you're speaking tonight. Whenever we go to
Oh my
meetings,
God.
you're speaking tonight. And you'd be like, huh? What? No, not next week. You used to have like full
Oh my
panic.
God.
And then to see you on television, just so fucking comfortable, like just like, not only you on television, but you're going to have to do like a live fucking, you have to tattoo someone. Like, I could barely dance in front of people. You could potentially fuck up someone's tattoo for the whole world to just fucking.
there was a huge evolution from the first season, you know, from season 11 to season 13, though. You like blossomed in season 13.
Well, I think as far as the show goes, the context of the show, for me, it was really the first time since the beginning of my career where I had anybody looking at my stuff critically. Because when you're surrounded by, you know, your friends or your clients, and it's real easy to kind of not necessarily believe my own hype, because I've never been that type of person, but it's to have someone, especially on that platform, you know, on TV, and the judges who are people that you respect, at least they are for me, you know, and hear what they have to say, and they're not going to sugarcoat shit. So, you know, it's whatever you do with that information. When someone gives you critiques about whatever it is you're doing in your life, you know, you can either take it and be like, oh, fuck you, you don't know what you're talking about, or you could sit there and listen, shut the fuck up and listen. And that's what I did, you know.
The importance of remaining teachable, and that's just it's such a valuable asset in all areas of life, right? Because we talk about this often, getting so trapped in a belief system that like I know best or I know all, and that limits people to their true potential, right? When you get in that mindset of like, oh no, I know, or
Right.
or I got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like someone going to take an MMA class, but they're not taking lessons because they already know they're tough.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
what the fuck are you doing here then? It's like that mindset is so important, but it comes from, you have to be in a state of humility in all areas. And it's easy to buy into your own hype at some point, especially where you're at right now. You're going to get a ton of praise and all this stuff, but you'll naturally always keep humility. I don't even think you have that character, that genetic wiring or whatever the fuck it's called, that's going to make you be like, I'm the man, I know.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird when, you know, for me, the hardest shit I think to deal with on, you know, with social media or people like commenting, when you're on that type of platform and you are that accessible to people, is the compliments are harder for me to deal with than anything. You know, when someone reaches out with a private message and, you know, is saying how much you've helped them, I'm like, how me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's so hard for me to wrap my head around, you know,
But you have, though. That's the thing. You have, and you'll continue to. Especially your story is so powerful, man. Like that. It's, if you even take a look at what the process of that consisted of, right? It consisted of an act of surrender, right? You come to this place where you realize like it's an internal motivation. I can no longer live and think the way that I'm live and feel the way that I'm living and feeling, right? So an act of surrender, I need help. So you take a leap of faith, right? You walk into a room full of strangers and hope that somehow this could help, and then in doing that you open yourself up to the possibility of connection, right? And then when connection comes through, you have the opportunity through that connection to start being transparent in your truth, right? To be able to be honest, because that's where we find one of the most beautiful things that can ever happen in our lives is to experience unconditional love, right? To love someone is to truly allow them to feel free to be who they are. That's to truly love someone unconditionally, not with any stipulations of anything. Like when I met you, you were a fucking hot mess express. So was I, right? That was part of the connection. We could be our authentic weird self and fucking put ourselves in weird predicaments. And Justin, when I first you met me when I was Jimmy, when I was that dude trying to bolt out of the meetings, like full of anxiety. Like a lot of people think that I've always been comfortable speaking or always been comfortable in doing this, but you met the terrified version of me, the fear-driven version of me, the
beardless version,
beardless version of me, you know, like severely
the worst version.
The worst, yeah,
Easily the worst version.
dude.
You actually don't have a chin.
I don't. There is no chin under here.
Just a hole.
Oh, it's dude. It's so uncomfortable. Look at if I do this.
It's a
right
handsome
now.
bastard now too.
There's nothing under there, dude. It just goes from my bottom lip, and then it's just empty, dude. It's just here. But and the power of like the connection component. That's why I'll constantly say that the three principles is the community, connection, and honesty and the dialogue that we have, right? The dialogue is so important. When you have the opportunity for like friends that allow you to be yourself, you can then open up the dialogue for like all these things, right? It's not even just what the darkness that's within you, but it's also like what do you dream and aspire to be, right? Because that's something that we need too. We just had a conversation in the car on the way over here, and it was talking about dreams and aspirations and these things, and you still have insecurities around what your future looks like, which is so fucking mind-blowing to me, which is like we're still, although you've come from this point to this point, and it's like even Justin, you're talking about a little bit earlier how you have some self disbelief when you're not doing your meditations and stuff like that, and how quick we can all go back into that mindset, which is why we require this, right? Why? Because I'll always be able to see you for It's like I told you, your book. You
Yeah.
have this book.
I'm coming out with a book.
Yeah.
So
You're coming out with a book?
I'm coming out with a book. Yeah, I wrote a book, The Recovery Conscious Mind.
Nice.
Yeah, and I
It's
told
coming
him
out
I
soon.
wanted a cut of it when it was fucking.
Yeah.
I did. I was like, I want a cut of that shit.
I want
And-
royalties.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, I'll give you a cut of the 150 cents that it makes and the 3 people that read it. That's naturally what we instinctively go to. And I'm like, that book is going to be huge. And I know this. Just like I know what you're
I'm
capable
gonna
of.
hold you to that. You're gonna have to buy like 10,000 copies or something.
And I'm going to hold you till I really want to cut. Just so you know.
I'll give you the cut of your 10,000 copies.
Yeah, whatever, dude. Just like I know Andy, like I know like his talents and like the most talented contractor I know. You know what I mean? Not the most talented speaker you'll ever meet. We're still working on that. Make sure his mic's still off. I don't want it to. But just
This is brutal.
this is actually.
I watched your other podcasts. They weren't like this.
Yes, they.
Oh, yes, they were. Really?
It's usually that Chris is in the
Yeah,
other kid,
usually
Chris
Chris is
who's
in.
not here.
I know. I'm just
But I think
kidding.
he got scared. I think he got scared tonight. He gets nervous. I think it's because you were famous. He bailed on the Slain episode and he bailed on this episode.
Did
So,
he?
Yeah.
Chris did?
Yeah.
Wimp.
What a fucking wimp, dude.
Yeah,
Chris, if
seriously.
you're watching this, fucking wimp, dude. Jimmy Snaz said you're a wimp. Actually, Jimmy called me and said that kid Chris, don't want him on.
Yeah.
Don't if he's there, I'm not coming on.
Well, I didn't want to risk anyone else getting the comfy chair.
Yeah, no, for
You
sure.
know?
He wouldn't have got it anyway.
I wimped out. I was actually going to sit there and I was like, "Meh." Give it to the famous guys.
But getting back to like this self-evolution and exploration, right? And you said like we're in the process of finding out who we are and figuring out. And I think that that's a lifelong process, right? To
100%.
truly understand the full potential that we have. And I think the quickest way to get to our potential is by surrounding ourselves with the right people, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer of like strength in numbers and the beautiful thing that comes from having the right people around you, man. They instill the belief in you, and you can't instill it in yourself because we're all suffering from human frailty well before we suffer from anything else. And like Justin always talks about society and what we see, negativity on social media, that shit can get in. It can
Yeah.
creep
Oh,
in the
100%.
cracks. No matter how much you try to isolate yourself or block yourself from it. I went on our YouTube channel and I never look at comments and because I'm terrified. I'm a bitch. I don't want to know. If you don't like it, don't tell me. I don't want to know that you don't like it. But I saw that someone gave the thumbs down and it was like, oh, who did it? And then I just had to bolt off. And how quick that effect can have, right?
Right.
The negativity. So to counteract that, I surround myself with people that love me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Regardless. And that when the feedback does come, it's actually productive feedback. Like I can learn and grow from it because part of being in a relationship, whether it's a friendship or a healthy relationship with somebody else, is your ability to hear the truth, not only speak the truth, right? Because sometimes that's equally as important. We have to hear some truths about ourselves when we need to be better or do better and be open-minded to hear it, right? And so there's value in that. But talk about this evolution of like self, like the differences in you, man. Like it's been a long time since methadone Jimmy, you know what I mean? Since
Meth Jim.
since meth Jim, you know, since meth Jim and hallucinating. Like
Yeah.
I remember you didn't sleep for like 2 months. Like
Yeah,
you-
which is crazy because everything I was involved in before that, I would go so long without sleeping, and I didn't even notice it. But it was like when everything was coming out of my system, yeah, there was a long time I didn't sleep. That was fucking brutal.
So what do you feel like the progressions, man, that you've made, or maybe some things that you still strive to make, like internally, right? Like I've known what you've done externally, like your life is definitely a lot different, but internally, man, what do you feel is the progression?
Well, I mean that's an interesting question for me because I'm constantly, looking for what the next move could be, and then trying to think about my purpose behind those moves, You know, like, is this a selfish reason? Is this for me? Is this going to better not just me, but the people around me? You know, so I'm constantly looking and analyzing every decision that I'm trying to make and the things that I want, you know. I think for me personally, I just want to be, I'm getting into this different part of my life personally where, you know, I'm just trying to be more on top of my shit, you know, a better adult, more responsible, you know, financially, but also just more at peace with who I am. I feel like I'm pretty good now as far as being at peace with who I am, but you know, it's an area that I could definitely grow on, you know?
Yeah. So there's these awarenesses that happen, right? And the longer that you're doing well, like I call it like your spirit calling out for something more. You know, you get that like sense of, all right, like your spirit gives you time to like enjoy the reward of progression. And then there's times where it's like time to level up. You know what I mean? Like the next chapter. And it's like you're talking about looking forward, like what's next. And it's not just what's next externally, it's what's next internally. Like that fulfillment that we look for is through being on a process of seeking out path and purpose and being consistent with that, right? The forward movement, forward progression in whatever area that is. Like we can't just cash out the first 6 months of things going well. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, this is good. This is the best it's been in a long time. I'll just sit here, although I still haven't fixed my credit's still fucked, or my finances are still fucked, or I'm eating like shit, or I haven't been to the gym, or all that stuff. But we're like, well, I got a roof over my head, I got good friends in my life, and I got a job, I'm happy. But it's like, it's that we have to continue. That's why it's an evolution, right? We have to continue on this process of progression.
Well, it's interesting too, because what's next, it contradicts some stuff that we're taught in recovery, one day at a time.
Yeah,
one day
no,
at a
for
time.
sure.
But the truth is that healthy people actually do think about their future. The law of attraction, the Bible, they all tell you to do this.
Right.
God wants you to live in abundance, but you need to decide what your abundance is. You need to be mindful enough to be thinking about, and you were talking about thinking about what's best for the people around you and what's best for you and your spirit, even talking about being more financially responsible. I'm thinking about the same thing. The reason I'm thinking about being more financially responsible is because money stresses me out. Yeah. And I really don't want to tolerate the stress anymore. I want to be as free as possible. And one of the ways that I'm not free is that I spend irresponsibly and then I'm stressed out about money. And I know that that doesn't need to be the case. Right. It's an area that I just need to improve. It's that simple. So today I have some goals similar to probably everybody in this room. I mean, at some point I want to be financially free. That's my goal, is to not, but I do believe, and I don't know what you think about this, but I do believe since I don't worry about money, it's always going to come. And so as long as because it's interesting, you're an artist. So I feel like people who are creative actually sometimes can quicker get to their purpose because you're driven internally. You're doing something that you love. It's kind of the homage, you know, you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Right. Because if you do what you love, you're starting to get in touch with your passion. You're starting to get in touch with your path and purpose. And there are a lot of people who take many years to get there. I mean, I was 17 years clean meditating when the opportunity to open treatment centers and help people for a living came to fruition. And I actually had the opportunity when I had a year clean. I literally enrolled in school to go be a drug counselor because I knew that's what I was supposed to do. And then somebody offered me a job as a fucking computer guy, and I had just gone to school for ITT Tech, and it was for a good amount of money back then. So I was like, okay, I could be a computer guy. I fucking hate computers.
Yeah.
You know? But at the end of the day, I did it for 15 years.
It's fucking wild. Have you ever seen him on a computer, dude? He's like this. I'm like, dude, the internet goes out. Like, Justin, you fix it? Well, he's like, I don't fucking know. Like, dude, didn't you do this for a living? He's like, dude, I did IT for one business, for one. He knows one specific genre of the
I'm
IT.
actually pretty good at it. IT's an interesting place because literally all you need to do is fucking call support and they'll walk you through fixing whatever the fuck you need to fix. And then if you're a nice guy to everybody, because most IT people are like, You know what I mean? So I was just nice. So people were like, this guy's fucking great. This is the greatest IT guy I ever fucking met, you know? So I literally built a career on just being a nice guy fucking who could like sort of fucking fix your computer. And if I couldn't, I'd just fucking call the guy that could.
Yeah.
There
It's
you
literally
go.
that simple. You just fucking Google what the fuck's going on with this thing, you know? So, but I built a career out of it, but I built a career out of something I didn't love.
Right.
You know, and I would say most people do that. So here you are, you know, you got there quicker, I would say. And
Well-
when I say get somewhere, I mean, where are we going?
Right.
But where we going is the path of happiness. I would estimate you're happier than most in the process of where you're at because of finding pieces of yourself quicker. And I would encourage people to, because if you think about it, society doesn't always teach you to follow what you love.
Right.
It teaches you to make fucking money.
Yeah.
What's the quickest way to make money? I mean, I see clients all the time. I got to fucking get back to work. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. And they're not listening to themselves and they're just fixated on the external. And it's like when you're an apprentice making no money, but you're doing what you love, it's worth it
Right.
because you're participating in your future at the end of the day, because you don't actually need to be in your future to start participating in it. The second you start taking steps towards doing what you love, even small steps, you are paying dividends to who you're going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. And people around you will see that. You know what I mean? Chris saw that in you probably, or Jay, you were talking about, Jay saw that in you.
Oh yeah.
Years before, you know what I mean? Jay knew you were going to be on Inkmaster, even though it.
Well, it's
do you
crazy.
know what I mean?
I think we were sitting outside of a meeting one time, and I think I was still Meth Jim.
Yeah. No porn stash, nothing, dude.
Dude, I didn't even have eyebrows. I don't think. I think those things were long gone, dude. Like they took so long to grow back.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the Inkmaster thing to me. I was like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like no way, dude. That's like, you know, that's the fucking moon. That's never gonna happen to me.
Yeah,
You
but
know
at
what I
that
mean?
point, if I mentioned a solid shit to you, you would have been like, "No way,
That's true.
I just don't see how that's gonna be possible."
Dude, sleeping again was like, you know.
That's all you. That's what you were aspiring for back then, dude. It's just
Yeah.
a healthy shit and a good night's sleep.
I've always kept small goals. You know, I've always, and I think for my happiness, it's never been about an enormous amount of wealth or anything. I've never chased money. I didn't get into tattooing for money. I didn't even know you could fucking make money tattooing. You know, when I started tattooing, it was because I was a graffiti kid and I wanted to continue that as long as fucking possible, you know, and like just do what I wanted to do. And tattooing came up and it was offered to me. And
I'll bring that up our next session, Jimmy, just to let you know. I don't do this for money.
That is a Jimmy. That
It
says
is.
Jimmy
Dude, I get
sleeve right there.
compliments
Yeah.
all the time.
hell
all
yeah.
the time.
You sat like such a bitch.
Yeah. remember I made you spray lidocaine all over me?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I
your
came in.
chest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I came in greased up with the fucking the numbing shit, and it didn't work. It didn't work.
Yeah,
at all.
no, that stuff's way worse.
Oh, dude, all it did was it
Yeah.
provided relief for like
Yeah.
45 seconds, and then it wore off, and it made it more excruciating.
Yeah.
And so he's
For everyone
just,
listening at home that asks me all the fucking time,
It doesn't
in my
work.
DMs, what I think about it, don't use that shit.
oh my God, it made it so much more excruciating. And then he just laughed even harder and told me more and more how much of a bitch I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's a fucking driller too. The tattoos will last forever, and the color's amazing. But you're gonna
Yeah,
you're gonna put it to you.
Yeah.
I just can't sit no more. I'm
gonna get my whole back done. I just can't afford it.
I
at
got
the
my
moment.
back done and it was horrible.
Yeah.
The worst shit ever.
Really?
Yeah, it hurt so bad, but same thing. It's because the dude fucking puts it in there, you know?
Worse than the neck?
No,
Yeah.
no.
No, that's brutal.
I was still fucked up when I got my neck done, and it was still brutal. It
Yeah.
was awful.
What were we just saying before?
We're talking about how I hate money.
Yeah, he doesn't care about
Let's
money.
get
How he's
back on
gonna be
that.
giving me some free tattoos. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
as
yeah.
Well, it's just like it's something that I've never really.
You get so uncomfortable anytime money transactions. Both times I went to see you and tried to pay you, you were like, no, dude, just.
Well, that's the thing is someone, especially like you guys that I respect, like it's hard to charge somebody for what you do when you feel like you're gaining more from them than you're giving them, you know? And just sitting with you and the shit that I've learned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get it.
Plus, you're kind of hot. You know?
You're making me blush.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were hot before you had a beard.
Dude, you were the first boy I kissed. I have that one.
You weren't my first.
Oh God, dude.
Sorry, brother.
Yeah, if you go on my Instagram, there's like 12 pictures down. Just anytime I ever try to take a picture with Jimmy, he just gets a cup full of my nuts in his hand. Right as the picture's about to be taken, he just grabs it and squeezes. I don't have one normal picture with you, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it's impossible for us to take a normal picture. Like someone's finger is going to end up in the other person's ear.
Oh, God.
We're children, you know?
I remember when I got back, so my wife is the one that shattered my heart. When
I was going to bring that up at some point. You're married to her now.
I'm married to her now. So just know, people, that it is possible to get devastated. And well, because I didn't. So part of why you were so important, because during that process I spent, like, I needed to be around you. I needed to be around other people like you, like my brothers and stuff like that, people that could just get me out of myself and just experience laughter. But I handled the breakup the way that you were supposed to, you know, like learning from it, having dialogue around it, instead of just acting like a fucking asshole on social media. Like she was. I did nothing, man. I surrounded myself with people that loved me and allowed me to go through my process naturally. And dude, I remember going through that, because it's not like you got clean and you were an insecure little sappy ass too. I remember when you finally fucking met somebody, you were all insecure about hitting this girl up, and you were you were like, I don't know, dude, I'm not metal enough for her. I remember.
What an aspiration, dude! Really, I gotta be more metal.
I remember you.
Who was this? Was it that blonde chick?
She doesn't matter. She doesn't matter.
We won't even go there. He's happily in another relationship right now, and I can't wait to. Anybody that loves Jimmy, I immediately love them for loving Jimmy. It's a tough task, I think, especially with everything that that's gone on this past year. You know, you have to realize, like, with all the ups and downs of what you could consider success, or I think an even better word is just the process, you know, of everything that you're going through, with my goals and what they were this past year, and what that meant for me to get in the headspace to be able to accomplish those goals. You know, I was like literally fighting with myself every fucking minute of it. And, just all the doubts, and it's, for her to put up with that. Of course.
And love you unconditionally and support you unconditionally.
Absolutely.
That's like, I'd agree that, when you find somebody who can love you and support you and believe in you at their own cost.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because selfishly, it's actually they're sacrificing time, themselves. I have that with my wife now, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, just sitting here tonight on a Friday night. It's
of course.
Well, that's the thing, is like, the perception of me or what people, see at home from, their couches or whatever, what they're seeing on TV. They're not seeing the mental warfare that you can play with that you can have with yourself.
Of course.
In situations like that, especially leading up to the finale, and how serious, I was taking it, and how afraid I wasn't even so much afraid of losing, but afraid of looking back at it and being like, you didn't do your best.
Of course.
So that shit will keep you up at night. That'll keep you up till 3 a.m. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck. And she's like, you're going to be okay. And I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Well, it's the inner that dialogue, though, especially. I mean, first off, let's circle back to God bless any woman that can love guys like us. Because it's not easy. I mean, none of them are addicts either. None of them, like,
right.
your wife's not yours, mine, yours. So, and what's the hardest part is that we live in here.
Oh man,
It's like you leave the rooms, like you're there physically and you're present there, but you're gone. You're in your mind walking around looking at all this fucking, just all the self-doubt, in that inner dialogue. Like I always teach people, like we suffer from a disease that speaks to us in our own voice. And it's that constant back and forth, that dialogue back and forth, the inner observer, the way that it speaks to us. It's that voice that we've had since you were a child, that even when you wanted to talk to a girl, and you thought she was pretty, and you're like, oh, I want to go up to her, and then don't do it because you're going to get rejected and everybody's going to laugh at you. Or you wanted to say a joke out loud, but your mind was like, don't say that joke. It's not going to be funny. And then your boy says the same joke and everybody's like, he's the funniest, And like that, we have that. And that's what the addict mind, we get trapped in that, because the cycle of thought for us, like I picture it, I explain it like for a normal person, their brain probably works like this, right? It's just a cycle of thoughts. For us, it's like this, nonstop, all day, every day.
Well, and
all
to
the
me,
fucking
it's like
time.
it's a fucking downward spiral too.
Yeah.
Once it starts to go negative, it's like there's no coming back out of it. It's just
Mine's like a little kid on a bouncy house going fucking crazy,
and But my wife now understands, right? Like she'll see. I call it the rabbit hole. She'll be like, yeah, you're going down the rabbit. She can physically see when I'm, and she understands it, right? And I have a process of how like I'll be able to digest information or whatever. And most important thing I do in that process that I don't get trapped is constant communication, right? Because if I'm the only one sorting through this, it's not always the best thing, man. So I require the dialogue constantly. I require to allow someone to know where I'm truly at, and not allowing myself to be consumed by me alone. Because I am my worst enemy. We were just talking prior to this, and we talk about this all the time, that the only roadblocks that will ever be put in front of you your whole life are going to be from you. And they're going to be from you. And they're going to, like, no one's ever going to stop me from getting to where I want to go other than me. And that's a tough battle. And that battle takes place in here, especially for addicts. It's getting past what's going on in here, that the inner observer, the dialogue in which we speak to ourselves. And the reason why it's important that we communicate it out loud is because if we sit with this too long, we start to attach truth to it.
Right.
And once you start to attach truth to it, then the emotion gets involved. You start to feel it regardless if it's true or not, right? That fear sets in, and our body digests it as truth, right? The subconscious mind doesn't decipher good or bad information. It just takes what we feed it and brings it into the external. And we'll start to self-isolate. We can spiral downward. That's why we're responsible to that, though. That's the flip side. We're responsible to take the necessary actions so that we're not tormenting our significant others.
But it can go both ways is the thing. People need to realize that you can be up at 3 o'clock in the morning fucking high on fucking life, too.
Of course. I'm the same way, too. Yeah.
I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, God inspired sometimes, with ideas of things that I'm going to do to, like, change the world.
Yeah.
And I take action on them these days because I know that God speaks, I listen. That's how you phrase it, but for me, I know it's source. This is source. So it goes both ways. I could be up at 3 o'clock in the morning stressing, or I could be up at 3 o'clock in the morning humming on like what God has in store for me, and so it's important for me to participate in healthy action all the time, though, to feed my mind to positive, because when I do, I get beyond my mind and I get to source. You know what I mean? In the chakra system, actually, they say that your third chakra is your mind energy, then your fourth chakra is your heart energy, and it goes up to your seventh chakra, which is connected. You know what I mean? Which I believe in all this stuff. But it's like you got to get beyond your mind. And so, but your mind, actually, there is a channel of your mind that's pure that will connect you to source when you're not in fear. But fear is the opposite of love. So when you're in love and you're thinking of others, like you just talked about, I'm thinking of what's best for all, you're in thought form of love there.
Yeah.
There's no way for you not to be successful with that, in my opinion.
And that kind of breaks down why he felt the way that he felt when he came home. Because I think when you're on the shore, at some point, you just let go of fear and you just allowed yourself to be.
Yeah.
And you just tapped in and you were connected. And
I definitely felt that.
Yeah.
I mean, especially towards the end when it was just like, there were definitely, you know, I mean, you're gonna have to go back and watch the season or whatever, but there were definitely a few moments where I felt like all I had to, like, it was like things weren't my decision, you know. For instance, there was a part where my team, you know, for anyone that's not familiar with the season, it was like me and my team, we were the East Coast, and we had to vote someone down to the bottom, and I was the only returning veteran. Each team had a returning veteran. You were not a leader. I don't like to use that word, but you were the one that people would kind of bounce ideas off, or you know, you've been through the competition before, so you can kind of help them.
So you're the leader.
So leader.
I hate that word.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
A veteran, whatever you want to call it.
yeah, I mean, just the guy that won't go away.
You're
that's
the-
still
yeah,
there.
yeah.
You know, like you're fucking still here.
So
Like,
you Andy.
graduate from high school.
So you were the Andy on
Yeah.
you were the guy.
I was the guy.
Yeah.
Whatever. But you know, we had to make the decision of who was the weakest link, and kind of based off prior challenges, and you know, who wasn't, you know, keeping up, maybe, you know, and
You're so kind-hearted.
How did you come? How did you? So you?
so basically we had to, you know, vote someone down, and
That's the worst. That's your worst nightmare.
What?
You having to vote someone down.
yeah, absolutely, someone on my team
Did
that
you
I'm supposed to
did you
look forward. I'm supposed to fucking
Look out for him.
yeah, I'm supposed to look out for him. So I was like, I'm not letting you guys fucking go down there. Fuck it, I'll go.
I'll go. Yeah, that was
You know?
badass. Yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't even meant to be that, honestly. Like, and you know, shout out to Kay, who was on my team, and she was like, "You really don't have to do this." I was like, "I do." Like, I said to her, and it was just me and her out on the.
I was at home
on
when
the
you
smoke
did that, doing this. Inspired, dude. Shirt and pants off, dude.
Well,
Watching that episode.
I don't think it had to do with me as much. It had to do with, like, you know, I felt like I was just following a plan that really wasn't necessarily my own, or I didn't know anything. I didn't know enough of the details, and I wasn't supposed to. You know, I
Yeah.
just felt like, okay, I'm getting that. Like I can't explain it, you know. And I said to her, I was like, I forget the way I exactly worded it to her, but I was like, I feel like it's a call from something else beyond me and beyond this situation that
Of course.
that I have to do this, you know. So I did, and that was one of those moments where I wouldn't say that I was like, I got this.
No.
I got this. We had to tattoo the next day, early in the morning, 7 a.m. They told us we had to do this at like fucking 10 o'clock at night or whatever, or we had to make that decision who was going down to tattoo the next day at like 10 o'clock at night, and we had to draw something. And I didn't sleep. I stayed up all night. Like, I wasn't like, all right, you know, I trust you. I trust
Yeah.
whatever's going on here. Like, I understood the call, but I still knew it had to be my action, and I still had to live up to, you know, the best potential that I could, or whatever. I don't know if I'm wording that wrong. Live up to my potential.
Yeah.
You know? So I stressed about it, you know, and I didn't sleep. I was like, fuck it. And I just like, that was one of those days on set where, you know, sometimes the cameras come over and you kind of acknowledge them, or whatever, or another contestant would come over and make small talk with you or whatever. Sometimes it makes air, and you know, that stuff's kind of encouraged because it helps build story. You know, you want the viewers to understand what it is you're thinking, you know, in these moments that are stressful. And I was just like, fuck you guys. I think that was probably the most quiet I'd been on set. And I was just like sitting there, like, no sleep. Like,
This is a fucking terrible decision.
like,
What am I doing
no,
here?
it was just one of those things. So.
See, when I seen you do that, you don't even have that, I got this in you. You're never that dude. You're
I mean,
always,
and that's the thing is,
you're genuine. Like, I will sacrifice myself before I have to make a decision that could hurt somebody's feelings. Oh, fucking, you're that sensitive dude. Like,
yeah.
That's just who you are in nature. And
Not to say, you know, that other people wouldn't have made that same call, you know, because there were a lot of, no one was like afraid to go down. But for me, I was very adamant just because I felt something else telling me, you know.
of course,
And it was like, it was the look of, you know, the people behind the cameras and everything. Like, I just felt like it's such a heavy presence in the room that
Yeah.
is so hard for me to explain. It's tough for me to talk about this with really anyone else besides you guys, because I feel like you guys might understand where the fuck I'm coming from.
No,
I live true to
100%.
that. People call me crazy, and where he said
Good.
God calls, I answers. That feeling that you got, I live true to. I call that being connected, right? And Matt, that's what's led me my whole life through making decisions. Like when I left the Roofers Union and decided I wanted to pursue dance at 25. Like think of even that decision, right? A 25-year-old roofer going to be a dancer.
Yeah.
How often does that happen?
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah. I mean, I actually thought about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I felt something internally.
Yeah.
Like God called. I didn't know. That's why we get so fixated on the how, and we don't. The how always works itself out. It's the what, right? And the what comes from that. You get that feeling here, and you just got to trust in it. The work you do on yourself and why you surround yourself is to help people get better with you trusting in that, right? Because that will lead you farther than this will ever lead you. That knows well before the mind will ever know, because the mind doesn't have the capacity to. This is truth. It's always
follow your
truth.
heart. I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically follow your heart. It's your heart intelligence. It's spiritual intelligence. If you look at science right now, science is going towards proving the spiritual realm and that it exists, and intuition and psychic ability and all this other stuff. There's, they call it pseudoscience, but that's where science is going, and it exists. It literally exists, and when you can start to tap into it, amazing things happen in my experience. I would attribute most of the success that I've had to that. And if you look at programs of recovery, they're actually teaching you to tap into that. If you look at the principles of programs, they're telling you to operate in love, open-mindedness. You know what I mean? All these things that aren't thought forms, they're feelings.
Yeah.
They go beyond thought forms. And we sit in meetings to help us with our thought form to tap into a better way of thinking. But when you get beyond the better way of thinking, then you start to get into your intuition, your feeling, and you start to get into path, purpose, and the spiritual nature of what the fuck we're doing here.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're sitting on a show, or you're on a dance show, or for me, it's a podcast. You're sitting on a podcast with three subscribers.
Dude, you're also the host of the number 7 radio show in Nashua, the Process radio show hosted by Justin Etland and Nicole White.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
every
right.
Wednesday, dude. Don't fucking sell yourself short, dude.
It's a fucking, I listen to that fucking radio show sometimes. It's fucking pretty good.
I do too sometimes. I also join in with your morning meditations sometimes too.
I'm gonna fucking do one on Monday.
The problem
So-
with your morning meditation is why I don't fully participate is because I always open it up when I'm pooping. It's like always in alignment with my first morning poop. He like come meditate with me. So I'll log in. So I'm with you there for a few, but then I leave because it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
You know what I
That's
mean?
cool. You can meditate at any point. Quiet your mind and just tap in the fucking source, whatever we're talking about here. That's why I do all that stuff. I mean, I'm not denying it anymore. I meditate to listen to myself.
Yeah.
It's like at the end of the day, I have everything within me, all the answers I need to be successful. But I'm it's so easy in this fucking society to be concentrated on everything outside yourself, all the fucking shiny. And it's like your truth is in the quiet, And so when you talk about creative people, I actually admire creative people because when you're drawing, you're tapping into a meditative state.
Yeah.
When you're, you know what I mean? And so, but the truth is that everybody has creative in them. For Andy, it's when he's building a fucking house.
Oh, it looks like he literally puts in headphones and he blocks. That's why he's the worst GC, because he has no idea where literally all the guys that work for him are they're gone. Half of them go home. They can sleep. He doesn't have any idea. He'll pay them all anyway. He doesn't even know how the day went. He just trusts in, like, you tell me your hours. He's just in the zone building.
Yeah.
Like anytime something's fucked up, he stares at it. And I'm like, what, can we fix it? And he's like, yep, I think so. And he just goes in this little zone. It's correct. It's like a meditative state.
And everybody has it in them. You just got to find what triggers it for you. And for everybody, it's something different. You know what I mean? So for me, it's not, for me, it's literally fucking drug addiction. I'll listen to things about, Carl Jung and these psychologists. I listen to everybody on this wall. And literally, as I'm listening to them, I go off for 30 minutes dissecting the information in a deeper manner. I literally tap into source sort of sometimes. Yeah. Literally, I start to I believe in collective consciousness, and some of the information that all these men have downloaded is, it's coming from the universe at the end of the day. If you look at most books out there, they all have similar themes. Even spiritual books, when you talk about, the Bible and other books compared to it and how religions are, a lot of people pit religions against each other. The fundamental books are the exact same.
Yeah.
It's the belief of this or that. It's mankind's belief system that has actually caused the conflict. It's not the teachings. The teachings, actually, if you look at the teachings of deep spiritual books, they're all the same. Yeah. And they're all talking about feeling and spiritual nature and Jesus being full of love and loving everyone. It's our belief systems, it's mankind's belief systems that needs to change. And I've shared on this podcast before, but we need to start operating in a higher consciousness of this and that, not this or that. It's not about, it's not about pitting things up against each other. It's about understanding, because it doesn't even mean people their belief system needs to change. At the end of the day, you can have your belief system. I just need to understand, because if I can understand you, then I'm not against you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I can have my own belief system. I could be a Christian, but if I understand a Muslim and who they are, then I can still love them and be with them, But when I'm against, when our belief systems conflict, then I can't. And then we're in conflict. And, mankind, we are such an amazing species who just needs to fucking level up consciously. I deeply believe this.
It's all about getting more into the collective and connectivity. That's why, I love, even back in the day when we would all get together as groups, it's always like a collection of weirdos, misfits, and fucking outcasts. And those are my favorite people in the world. And the more I can, that's why I'm all about allowing people to see me completely. It was a fear to walk through it on the podcast, just because whatever. But in real life, like, I ultimately like people to know my shortcomings, my frailties, like, because I remember being locked internally, right? Being like trapped inside here, being afraid to be seen, always feeling like you have to do that dance, to make other people comfortable. And I see a lot of people stuck in that trap, and it's fucked. And that's my favorite thing about you, is because you have that gift where anybody that, even your certain friend group, and I watch you on Instagram and all that shit, all I do is laugh, and I see people freely being themselves alongside you, freely being yourself, and it's infectious, and it's a beautiful thing to watch, and the more that people can like you said, be in a mindset of the collective and connectivity. It's not this and that. I know it's not this or that. It's this and that you can be a retired porn star like Jimmy with a mustache like that. You know what I mean? And and still be friends with fucking an awkward contractor that doesn't speak complete English. You know what I mean? Like, we can all live in. But those are the best collections of people, and the more connectivity we have, the more unconditional love, the more that we get past the societal way of thinking, of this and that, or Republican, Democrat, or religious, non-religious. It doesn't fucking matter. It's human being, and love is the most important concept of anything, man. The power of love, right? And that is we've lost that concept so long ago. Like, you see it. Like, I hate Twitter and social media now, because it's like, it's flooded with a ton of negativity, man. I wish social media would be flooded with love, because it would change the world. Like, if anybody posted for a month, like how we're quarantining, if we quarantined Facebook and all social media, as in like quarantine, like you're not allowed to do anything on this except share positivity and love and like compliments, and everybody, it would change the dynamic of the world. Yeah. It would literally change like how people felt for that 1 month that you did that. People's mindsets would change, right? Think of how powerful, we seek that stuff out. Me and you, Justin, personally, we seek that type of power out from the world, because it's accessible, but you got to find it. These people are in the world inspiring people on a daily basis. You just have to find them. We seek them out. But if you're not seeking stuff like that out, and you are just reliant on what you see on TV and what you see on social media, it can get dark quick. Yes. Right? And it can 100%. Be divisive. And also it's infectious, because negativity spreads too. And you can become a product of your environment, not just in the external world, but in the cyber world too. You can be a product of that environment. I've been a product to that. At
the end of the day, we all have it in us. You know what I mean? It goes back to there was an interesting study about, you know, back in the Nazi era and people who got involved in it. And like, it's so easy for people to be like, oh, absolutely not. But if you were put in a position of like, you're going to do this or die, because that's what a lot of people were put in, you know what I mean? Like, this is going to become, and I'm not, you know, at the end of the day, dark forces, people will bow down sometimes in fear, you know? And so you know, we were talking about basic fears of who we were based on how we grew up, you know, and fear of just fitting in and all this other stuff. But the Nazi movement, fear of fitting in, people who joined that movement, I can guarantee you that 95% of the people who joined that movement didn't believe in it.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Legit.
Yeah.
They didn't believe in it. But they were just forced into it fearfully. They were forced into a belief system that they didn't believe. And really, as mankind, we need to do better on buying into a belief system of cooperation, of love, of freely being able to be ourselves. But we're not always teaching that. And you know, one of the reasons I want to do this podcast, one of the reasons I'm releasing the app, I'm releasing and all this other stuff is because I do believe in 2000. You know, we're in the age of Aquarius, and the age of Aquarius is the rising of human consciousness.
When's your birthday?
None of your business.
Oh, shit.
You in Aquarius?
Yeah. It's February 16th.
Oh, shit.
Do it.
4 Aquarius in
Dude,
the room
fuck,
right
dude.
now.
Nice.
4 Aquarius in the. What are the odds of that, dude? Age of Aquarius. We're gonna
Age
call
of
this
Aquarius.
episode "Age of Aquarius."
We should. Rising in human consciousness.
No, we're gonna call it Inkmaster with Jimmy Snaz. Inkmaster. So we'll get fucking
Clickbait,
clickbait,
motherfucker.
clickbait. Jimmy Snaz naked. Jimmy Snaz confessions. I'm gonna post that picture you gave me for my birthday 5 years ago too. For the what is it called? The nail, the thumbnail, the thumb. I won't say what the picture is. I don't know if.
That picture.
Yeah, and birthday card.
Yeah, fucking whatever, dude.
Hell yeah, dude. Jimmy gave me a picture of him naked for my birthday and a card. And when
I've always respected how you're just completely comfortable naked.
oh yeah, incredible,
all
dude.
social
I've seen this
medias.
dude
Well,
more
I find
than-
humor in it. It's
Oh,
fucking
man.
ridiculous.
So when this is side
I
note, we'll
aspire
get
to
back
be
to
you
that.
someday.
When I got back with my wife at the time when we got back together, she was at my new apartment and she was sitting on my nightstand to my left. She picked up the picture. She was like, "Why the fuck do you have a naked picture of Jimmy Snaz by your bed?" I was like, "It was my birthday present."
Well, that's the thing. It's like I gave you the naked picture, but I definitely didn't put it on your nightstand.
No. Where else would I put
You
it,
did
though? Where else would I put that picture, Jimmy? At least you know that I respected the gift.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, at least it didn't end up in a top drawer or like over your buddy's house.
Yeah,
like
well-
you re-gifted it. Yeah. How fucking weird would that be? That's like the worst gift to re-gift. Like, Grandma, I got you something.
Oh,
You know?
Maya might like that. Who knows, man? She might request more.
Just a complete stranger. Like,
Yeah.
hand it out on the street like it's a flyer.
Oh, dude. So this is a side note too. Another side note. I got a package in the mail, and
I didn't send that one.
and this would be something you would do, but it wasn't you. Surprising. I finally found out the culprit. But it said stimulus package 2020, and it was in like a FedEx thing. And I opened it, and then it was like a box, and it said stimulus package, just like you've. I thought it was going to be a stimulus check, and so I opened the box, and it was a chocolate dick, and it said "eat a dick." That's what it said, and with no return sender. No one even took credit for it, dude. And my heart was pounding like I was getting money, and someone just sent me a chocolate dick, like a edible chocolate dick, that in the box. That
Some would argue that's better than money.
yeah, but it was my boy Nick.
I mean,
Shout out
I
Nick.
would.
That was incredible. He FedExed that to me.
That's creative.
It was creative. I guess you can order them on Amazon and just send people. But I thought it was Andy, and he didn't take credit for it. But getting back to we were talking about the collective, and we were talking about the power of like how you can go into the deep darkness of social media and all that and get consumed in that. And I've fallen prey. You know how many times I've ended up in a comment thread that I didn't know who it was because it was just such a train wreck of just negativity.
Yeah.
And then people were talking, and I just started clicking who these people were. And then it's like 2.5 hours later, and I'm on like some random person's like I've invested like 2.5 hours of just this shit show of negativity, but I need to know all the characters to have
trying
context.
to get the whole picture. Yeah.
The context, and then someone's like, fuck you, because you did, and then I'm like, well, who's this, and then you go on their page, and I'm like, why am I doing this? That's 2.5 hours I could have done.
Yeah,
I could have done so much other stuff. You know what I mean? I could have infected myself with positive shit, but I mean, that's why it's important what we feed, what we feed the mind, right? We have a responsibility to, especially guys like us, right? We'll call guys like us. Some people aren't being uncomfortable being called an addict. I know who and what I am, right?
Yeah, I'm not afraid of it.
Yeah. So I have a responsibility to make sure, because remember how we talk about the brain? Our brain goes like this, and I call it at some point it catches traction on something, right? But it's always going like this. So if I'm putting in positivity, it'll catch traction on that positivity, and that will be the cycle of thought. But if I'm feeding it negativity, it will just as easily catch traction on that. And I can become down and dark. And that's when I fall into my rabbit hole, and I can get insecure, depressed, and I can have self-doubt, and I can stop being afraid of failure. And that comes with the responsibility on my part to make sure that I'm ingesting good shit, right? It's like I ask people this simple question all the time, like self-audit. When's the last time you self-audited yourself? You ever had that feeling where you're like, oh, I'm in a funk. I just don't know what it is. I'm in a funk. And I'm like, well, when's the last time you gave yourself a self-audit? Like, the fuck is that? And I break it down into a category. Write down. I break it into 3 categories called must, needs, wants, right? Things I know that I must do. I must be in a place where I'm having constant dialogue, speaking my truth. If I'm the only person in my life that knows the truth about me, I'm fucked. And I must have a relationship with a higher source. Like God, I need to be in a place of prayer, affirmations, whatever it is. These are my must. But my needs category, where everybody gets fucked up, is the just for tomorrow mindset, where we start to neglect the basic human functions of stuff that we need to do, like fix our credit, pay some bills. I have an Easy Pass ticket that's been on my desk right now for probably 2.5 months. I just got to go online and pay it. It probably was $2, but now it's probably $87 because I've just waited. Yeah. And I'll do it with my Comcast. Like, I won't pay my Comcast bill till my son comes in the room. He's like, the internet's not working. You know what I mean? And I'll be like, oh, motherfucker. But I write these things that I know that I need to do. And so to be like, oh, I need to eat better. I need to go to the gym. I need to drink more water. I need to pay these bills. I need to make my bed. I need to clean my car. I need to get an oil change. Like, I need to, and I'll just start writing out these little monotonous things. And then if you say one of these things out loud simply, like, oh, if your bed's a mess, or if your room's a mess or your car's a mess, is that going to create anxiety and depression within you internally? And you'll be like, no. So who gives a fuck? But if I ask you, if you're eating like shit, not drinking any water, you haven't taken care of any of your financial responsibilities, and your bed's a mess, and you're not going to the gym, and you're not sleeping at a normal time every night, and you haven't been to the dentist or the doctors, and you haven't done your laundry, and
I feel attacked right now.
Yeah, and that's a self-audit, right? And then you look at your must, like, how often have I been communicating? How often am I seeking out spiritual knowledge? How often am I seeking out inspiration? That's the thing. That's the self-audit. That's the responsibility to ourselves that we have. That's called self-love. Taking care of these things that are going to be the things that create that anxious feeling in us internally. I fall prey to that all the time, but I am no longer a victim. I'm a volunteer, because I understand when I'm funky, when I feel myself being an asshole, when I'm at home impatient with my dogs, or being impatient like with my wife, or it's not them. It's me. And then all I have to do is audit myself. Where am I at? And I see like, oh yeah, I'm a train wreck. I should probably like start taking responsibility for myself. But I don't even know how the fuck I got on that. Where did that even come from?
My birthday present to you.
That all came from a naked picture of Jimmy. See? That was an inspiring picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. That created that.
What do you do? What are your keys?
What, besides sending naked pictures of
Yeah,
myself?
besides that. And this porn stash that you walk around with, that's incredible. I mean, that's got to be a secret to success.
I don't know, man. I mean, I definitely get lost in my own shit a lot, you know, in my thought process, and like we talked about earlier, fears and doubts. Me, I'm constantly just trying to, as an artist, at least I have that escape or whatever, where I can do something that makes me feel better about myself. And maybe I use it as a distraction sometimes too, to not take care of things they're not going to go away. You know, like cleaning my car or every other thing that you just said about my life. You know, so it's like maybe I still use that as like a form of escapism, you know. But I mean, you know, I'm lucky that I have that, I guess. You know, it keeps me sane to a degree, because I think the way that I operate personally is I'm constantly I'm constantly just looking to push myself, you know. I think, and for me that comes out more in my art than it does like my everyday life, you know, my duties being an adult, and like I said, those are things that lately at this age I'm starting to focus on more than like just kind of getting lost in my shit and just keeping my head down and fucking trying to create and do something that I'm proud of, you know.
But with that transition, I went through it when I was 30. I needed help. I didn't know how to be like certain things. Like that's why like having guys like Justin in my life, and there's other guys like my buddy Nick who taught me about like credit, who taught me about like financial stuff. Like and now I get to like talk to Andy about this stuff. Like his credit score went from like a 5 what? Is he on?
I turn it back on.
It was a 5:30. Now it's a 7:10.
Look at that, dude.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm in the point now, finally, where it's like those are things that I really want to get involved in, you know, and learning about it. And I understand that it's going to be a process because it's something I've never really paid attention to before, you know. I've always just kind of.
Yeah, because who the fuck wants to be an adult, dude?
Right.
I still don't. I was forced into it because I couldn't run from it no more because it was just directly affecting my life. Like,
right.
Like if I don't take care of this stuff, like I'm always just going to be like paying 33% interest rates on fucking 2001 Honda Accords that are beat up. You know what I mean? I remember I bought a Mercedes for the first time 4 or 5 years ago, and it wasn't that much different of the payment that I paid for my first Nissan Altima that I got brand new because of how bad my credit was when I bought the Nissan Altima in comparison to where I was when I bought the Mercedes. I was used to already making like a large payment on a car.
Right.
But,
so it felt like a come up at the time.
yeah. But there's some Jimmy. I mean, I ask questions usually towards the end of the show that I like to get into as far as looking back, taking a look back, and looking back inward and looking back outward, and then just being able to like give advice. Not only to the old version of you, but to there's someone out there that's listening to this, man, that is in a similar place where we've all come from, right? Feeling like they're uniquely fucked up, scared, alone, feeling hopeless, helpless, lost. That just doesn't have the tools, because there was many times that I wanted to change, I just didn't know how to, right? I wasn't equipped with the knowledge of the information, right?
I still feel like I'm faced with that a lot, you know, just my everyday life. So.
Yeah. What would you give? Let's just go back as far as like 7-8 years, man. What would you give you for advice?
Well, I mean, don't fucking do drugs.
That's.
But besides that, learning to just trust and believe in myself wherever the fuck I'm at, and realize like it's not for forever as much as it feels like that, you know, with how much my life has changed, and it's constantly changing, and I hope that it continues to change and grow. Because you know, that's a gift that I'm lucky to have, as long as I allow that to take place. So if I could talk to myself, say 7-8 years ago, I mean, I would just kind of instill, or, you know, try to speak to that, like allow all that shit to take place. But like, just kind of, I've always kind of been like the type of person that you know, just kind of like, you know, go with the flow, just, you know, turn to liquid, whatever, you know. But I think there's a lot of growth that was maybe stunted by my fear of letting that take place, you know. And if I could talk to myself, you know, a few years ago, it would just be like, don't do drugs.
Were you one of those artists coming back that didn't think you could be creative, not high?
Oh yeah, I had to relearn how to tattoo. Yeah, that was fucked up.
Yeah.
I had to relearn how to do everything when I got off of everything. You know, like literally everything. Have a fucking conversation with you. You know, and that was a good. You were good for me because you understood me. You know. And that kind of allowed me the freedom to embrace who I was. Because at that point, I mean, I had done so much wreckage to myself and other people that I didn't trust myself at all, you know, and trust that I could make the right decisions, and trust that, you know, who I was being, you know, just trust that I was on the right path or whatever. And you know, you gave that to me. Just having someone like you around to just let me be my fucking self.
Because I know a lot of people do struggle with that, man, being fearful when they come back to like, all right, I'm clean. Am I going to be as talented? Am I going to be as, for some reason, they believe in this false narrative that their God-given gift, their talent was somehow enhanced by the usage of drugs and stuff like that. And I see that a lot with the trades too. I see that a lot in a lot of areas, and obviously, to the outside perspective, it's crazy, like for people to, because I look at like the gifts that people have, and I'm like, that's just in you, you know, that's just a part of who you are, and will come back even better. And it's like watching your progression as a tattoo artist, even from the first tattoo, like you're fucking on some other shit now. Like,
well, it's crazy. Like I said, when I got off drugs, you know, coming back into it, I felt like a fish out of water the same way. And that's because I felt that way in every other aspect of my life. So of course it was going to affect my art and my confidence in that. And it's like I felt the same feeling when I got back from filming Inkmaster and had to do the finale. It was like every tattoo I did, I felt like, what the fuck happened? You know? So I don't really know. You know, obviously I took drugs away the first time, but it's like the second time, I don't really know what that was that I felt like was missing, you know? I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
And you will in time, man. You will in time, as long as we stay on a journey open-minded and we stay in a state of progress, right? Continuing to progress forward, continuing to ask questions, continuing to stay in a place of humility where we're teachable, continuing to surround ourselves with people that are going to pull the most out of us, right? That it's mutually beneficial relationships, like strategic friendships. Like everybody that's in my life is because I want them in my life. It's funny, as the older you get, like I have no, like my barometer for negativity and someone that brings negativity in my life is like, it's at a 0. I don't want any part of it, man. I want people in my life that I have the opportunity to help, or have the opportunity to help me, because it's a give and take relationship, right? That is so important, and everybody should have that. All people in life should have a group. They should have a group of people, a community of people that they can look to for empowerment, because it's just like what you had on the show. You'll have lifelong friendships, man, because you guys were all a part of something together, right? That's connectivity. You guys will always be forged within that, because there comes, even when we were on the show, that shit's high stress, man. That there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of like being pushed to anxious moments because it's good for TV, you know, like all that stuff. And I'm still bonded with people that we were on the show with fucking forever ago. A lot of them are world famous dancers, and
you got your podcast.
And I got this podcast, dude. We don't even know how we got on that fucking show. We snuck the fuck on. I remember our first.
You killed
You
it
guys
though.
talking about? You guys would.
Well, the people that auditioned for the show were fucking like lifetime professional dancers. Like I'm fresh off of like heroin 3 years. You know what I mean? Like these dudes, they were young. They
but you had something to offer, you know, maybe something that you didn't see at the time, but, you know, whether it was the producers or somebody saw that you had more to offer in that moment, maybe for a wider range of people that were going to be watching the show, you know?
Spiritual alchemy of life. It's not to be understood sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I built success on sucking at computers. How did that work? Spiritual alchemy of life.
Yeah.
You know, so it legit. There's a spiritual realm that's beyond our understanding that will get you wherever you want to go if you believe it. But believing it is the truth.
Yeah.
Faith is the opposite of fear. Faith, you're in the spiritual realm. Fear, you're fucking stuck in the third dimensional fucking mind. It's not getting you anywhere. You know? You're in push. So you're not in the flow.
Right.
So
I love this is like we talk about evolution. This is when you were around Justin before, he wasn't on.
Jimmy actually supported me through my spirit. Some people would call it a midlife crisis, but it actually was a spiritual awakening.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what it fucking was. It was a spiritual awakening. This, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a spiritual awakening. So I used to be a fucking tight ass, egotistical motherfucker. But the reason that I was like that is because that ego, that kept me safe.
Yeah.
Literally, it kept me safe. I'm freer than I've ever been. But I had to face my fear of myself. I had to listen to myself. I had to make decisions against my own best thinking of what the world told me the way things were supposed to be. But in doing that, so literally do whatever, you know, do the opposite of what you think you're supposed to do sometimes. Yeah. Take the fucking risk. Take the leap. And before you know it, you're going to like be in beyond freedom, you know, so thank you for support. Cause you know, everybody at the time.
Well, that was a good opportunity for me to kind of get to talk to you too, because it's like I'd seen you around and we've talked a little bit, but I didn't really get to, you know, have conversations with you before. Yeah. You know, we're talking obviously about when I tattooed Justin's arm. Yeah. So that was good.
Well,
He was banging out of work to get those tattoos done. I wasn't the best supporter during Justin's process just because it was happening in the midst of a fucking... our business was just like going to shit at the time. Our clinical director quit. Fucking... It was mayhem at the time. And then Justin's like, I found myself. I'll be back.
Good luck, guys. I'm going to get my fucking sleep done.
He got it.
I fell in love.
He did. It was. But I'm the biggest fan still to this day. I've been empowered by your transformation, man. And the more in touch and in tune you get with your true self, because I spent times just me and you one-on-one and watching you struggle with your own truth. You would acknowledge your truth, and it would bring you to tears, but you were too afraid to take the necessary steps that you knew were required in order for you to. Like by staying in a marriage too long because you were afraid of what the outcome was going to be. You were afraid who was going to get hurt, how they were going to get hurt, what it was going to look like. And you were caught in that. But you knew the truth years before you actually made the decision. And I was a part of that, that whole process, like those conversations because like I said, the spirit will acknowledge something well before the mind will. The spirit will tell you when a relationship's over, probably years before. Your head will allow you to think in terms of like it's time to go. Yeah. Because your mind will say, no, well, what if, or all that, but you feel it here. Yeah. You feel it here first. Your spirit will tell you when it's time to move forward in a job or in anything.
But what you will feel sometimes will directly go against some of the belief systems you might have incorporated in yourself in your life.
And that's
so literally you're in a conflict with yourself.
Yep.
Because here you are, you know, I'm taught I'm supposed to stay in a marriage forever. And so that I was taught that when I was a kid. Do I truly believe that? And the reason that I got married was not because I was in love. It was because I was trying to create the happiness that fucking the world told me this is what you do to be happy. Yeah. And so I did these things, you know, just because, and a lot of people make these decisions, you know what I mean? Yeah. We're taught, do these certain things, you know what I mean? Get married, fucking get a house, get a white picket fence, get some fucking dogs, get some fucking children. And I did all that, you know? And then I was like, you know, and then what? This isn't who, you know what I mean? None of this. And a lot of people face this, you know? And then you're left with, is this truly your path and purpose? Are you, dude, I literally heard meditation helped me walk away from my marriage, which is crazy. You'd be like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? It's the complete opposite of what you're supposed to be hearing in meditation. No, it's not. You're actually going to hear in meditation sometimes things that will conflict with belief systems that really have no relevance to being yourself. I've just come to learn, I'm unlearning a lot of belief systems that I grew up being taught that are directly conflict with me freely being myself and authentically connecting with source.
Yeah.
And I won't get into this too long, but just being in tune, right, and being connected. I was caught in that trap too, right? Teaching dance, everybody's saying like you have the dream job, you work with your brothers, this is amazing, you get to do all this stuff, you get to, people perceived it as cool and all this stuff, but I was no longer fulfilled by it, so I was trapped. And I remember the flame was ignited when I started to have the dialogue about doing something in the recovery field, because that was my secondary passion. Well, it was something that I was being called to, right? Part of being called to that, as I remember, I was in the dancing school and I heard some of the parents talking about how they didn't want a methadone clinic open and all that bullshit. And then I was like, that's fucking bullshit. The perception people have of addicts, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you're bringing your kids in this dancing school and you're paying me good money to teach them. I'm one of those addicts that you're talking about. You don't want in your neighborhood. And I was called to something more. And I allowed this to lead me, right? I allowed, like I call God calls, I answer. And there was no, the concept of the how. People get so caught up in the how, and that prevents people from doing a lot of things. But when you just follow and you get in tune and you begin the process of dialogue, and I always tell people that dialogue is what brought me to this moment right now with you guys here. Because had I not had these conversations openly, because what ultimately led me to this place is conversations that I had with my buddy Taki about wanting to do a sober house, and that conversation with my buddy Taki led me to him connecting me with this woman named Chanel, who at the time just wanted to do yoga at the dance studio because she just opened up a yoga studio, and she asked if she could come do a class to promote, and I said absolutely, free of charge, just come do a class, we'll all take it. And then after the yoga class, we were just in conversation, and she said, what else you got going on? You're just doing this now? That's awesome. And I said, yeah, but what I really want to do, and I was talking, because she's into this stuff, I was telling her where I was being called to. And but I didn't have good credit at the time. I didn't have the houses. I didn't have money. And she was like, you should talk to my brother Keith. He owns a couple properties. I've never met Keith. I didn't even know she had a brother. So I walked through a fair and called a strange man, and he asked me to meet him at the North Shore Mall. So I met him at the North Shore Mall. I ate Chick-fil-A, and I told him about this idea that I had about wanting to start a recovery house. That conversation then led me to him giving me an apartment on this house, which was a shithole, and it needed to be renovated, which led me to a conversation that Justin had, because I didn't have money still at this time. Justin had a conversation with me 5 years prior through dialogue, telling me that he believed in me and he wanted to invest in me. That was 5 years prior to where I was at that moment. I called Justin and I told him about this venture that I wanted to do with this house for this sober living that I had no idea how it was going to do. And Justin said, just to be clear, Chris, I want to do this, but I'm not going to work for you. I'll be your partner.
That's good.
And I said, done. That shitty apartment in Lynn and those dialogues, that one apartment led to 3 apartments, which led to another house in Salem, which led to us ending up in Nashua against our will because we didn't want to come, but because J-Mac met a random girl at a concert named Amy, who brought him back into recovery, introduced to us, who she convinced us to come to Nashua, which then led us to the Process Recovery Center and 11 sober houses and this very moment right now. And you can't logically determine that how prior to any of that happening.
No, of course not.
The only thing that happened was a feeling and a trust in that feeling. A lot of people will wash away that feeling because they get caught in the logic of the how. The logic of the how can't go to Jim and be like, hey kid, I know you're meth Jim right now, but don't worry about it. You're gonna be on Inkmaster and you're gonna do a lot of amazing things in your life. You're gonna be one of the top 10. Logically, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm just trying to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
But that's why it's important to get more in tune with this, right, and less in tune with this.
Yep.
And this is the way we do it. Believe it or not, this is the core foundation of that, right? Just this. We're just some dudes in a room right now having conversations. Andy's a dude listening to a conversation. You know what I mean? He's just a dude in a room with some other dudes having conversations. You know, you turn his mic on.
Oh, it's on now.
Just so everybody knows, we didn't shut Andy's mic off because we didn't want to hear him talk. It's just that when he's not talking, we turn it off because it makes a buzzing sound. So anytime he wants to talk, he's supposed to give Nico a signal. But he hasn't given him one signal the whole podcast, so he's just...
I wanted to raise it so many times, but it didn't happen.
You should have raised your hand. That would have been incredible. Do you want to say anything for the people?
I'm just soaking it in.
I respect it, dude. I respect
I'm
it.
soaking
All
it in
I
too.
can think about is you two and dicks and kissing friends, and it's just...
Out of all of this, that's what you've got?
Wow.
Also, how
Man, we are totally fucking up here.
Oh, man.
Well, then we pretty much nailed it. You know what I mean?
that's what we're going for.
That's it, dude. That's it. But I don't know, Justin. Similar question. I asked you that question before.
Yeah.
So give advice to someone that's out there that's in having internal warfare, that's on that cusp of, like, you know, that phase that we get where we're settling through comfortability, not wanting to progress forward based off of fear and the comfort of where we're currently at, because it doesn't come with the emotional cost of risk, you know. So what would you give for advice?
I'd give number one, probably start listening to some, you know, motivational speakers, some motivational success teachers, Jack Canfield, Eric Thomas, Napoleon Hill, Carl Jung. I mean, he's dead now, but start listening to some dialogue to challenge your thinking about what's happening in your life right now, because they'll challenge your thinking. And you know, I mean, hopefully this podcast will challenge your thinking, you know, but just start digesting some content to challenge yourself on what's next. Because once you start to challenge yourself, you know, and your mind starts to articulate that, number two, personally for me, is meditation. So in whatever form you want, if that's, you know, if it's mowing the fucking lawn, if it's actually sitting in meditation. For me today, it's actually sitting in meditation. And then number three, whatever comes to you, because here's the thing about meditation. I do want to teach people this, that the reason that you're supposed to meditate is to shut off all the problems, your analytical mind. But once you shut off your analytical mind, your spiritual mind is actually going to start speaking to you. Everybody just thinks meditation is supposed to be this dead, your quiet mind. You're not supposed to think anything. Bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on that, just to let you know, all spiritual teachers out there, that's bullshit. You're actually listening to yourself and your spiritual self, and ideas will start to come to you in meditation that you're supposed to take action on. Literally path and purpose of what you're supposed to do next. It might fucking tell you to get divorced.
Might tell you to be a dancer.
It might tell you to be a dancer. It might tell you to create a fucking app. It might tell you to fucking pursue your dream of tattoos. It might tell you, fucking be quiet.
Yeah.
Don't listen to that. Speak up. Whatever it tells you, take action. You know what I mean? What's the harm? What's the harm? Yeah. And then four, surround yourself with people who will encourage you to take that action. You know, and if you're in recovery, you'll find those people in meetings, but it's not every person in a meeting. Mm-hmm. You got to find the people that believe in you, that touch your spirit. When they speak, they're telling the truth, and they're going to give you the comfortability to tell your truth. And when you tell your truth, they're going to fucking fan the flame of that truth, whatever it is, good or bad. You know what I mean? They'll help you fucking dim the fucking darkness and bring the fucking light. You know what I mean? Because we all fucking are facing the darkness to get to the fucking light. And so it's like a combination of both. You know what I mean? We fucking find people that we can share our darkness with. By embracing the fucking darkness, you get to the fucking light. It's like literally that's what recovery is. It's this amazing, convoluted process that goes against fucking the grain, against what you're taught. So 20 minutes later, that's my fucking answer.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't say write stuff down.
Yeah, sorry. I would.
That's like you're preaching.
I am a big preacher. That. Yeah, I am a big preacher on like whatever you're thinking, write it down then, because writing it down actually helps it to register in your subconscious, and then it's gonna start to articulate, and you don't need to think about it. Because the conscious mind, the problem with the conscious mind is, you have a thought of something you want to do, but then guess what follows it?
fear.
How are you going to do that? Well, how's it going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. When you write it down, you're just writing it down as a possibility, you know? And I have things written down that I never thought were, how is this ever going to happen? And they've happened, you know? And so it's literally most people are pretty young and you got a lot of time for things to come to fruition, you know? And you'll get to the point where life becomes so exciting, you just fucking want to live forever.
Yeah.
I fucking want to live till I'm 120 years old. I
Me
want to be
too.
120 years old, just fucking helping people and loving people and fucking just like, boosting people up. You know what I mean? Like that's how you know you've spiritually tapped in. When someone fucking doesn't want to live and they fucking feel like life is a struggle, you're not tapped in. That's what I'd say. If life's a struggle, you're not tapping into the light. And find some people who will fucking help you tap into the light, and fucking, unlimited possibility exists for everyone, every single person on this earth. So that'd be my...
How much more likely are you when you write something down?
44% more likely to do something when you write it down.
I love that.
So,
I believe that because I carry books around with me constantly. These like little notebooks. I'm the king of. I jot whatever mayhem comes into. I tried to get Andy to. I bought Andy a notebook with his name on it. Go ahead, you turn his mic on, and he fucking lost it. But he was writing in it.
Yeah, I wrote it in a lot actually. He did get me one, and I felt special because it was a present, and I used it every day. And then I lost it, and I was too scared to tell him I lost it.
Yeah.
And then I found it, and now it's full, and he hasn't got me another one.
Oh, I'll give
yeah,
you
it's
another
so hard
one.
to go to CVS and buy. Dude, my
It's a
mind's so
special one.
fast. Yeah, but
I have my name on it.
Yeah.
I use notes in my phone now. I just fucking try to put shit down whenever the fuck I can. Whenever I have a good thought about something,
Yeah.
write that shit down.
You gotta. This has been a dope podcast, man, and it's the only podcast that you're gonna hear Jesus, dick, fuck, porn mustache, all in the same.
I got a question for Jimmy before we end. 5 years from now, dream scenario, what does your life look like?
Fuck. I mean,
Just a few ideas.
first of all, independent, just able to like be my own, just be able to take care of myself better than I am now. Cause I know that I could be doing a lot better, and it's, for me, it's like, yeah, making money financially, but it's more about living within my means and being able to appreciate what I do have, instead of like trying to build castles and shit like that, and distractions. Like that's, for me, that's not a goal of mine right now. But just trying to, appreciate what I do have and just be comfortable. And hopefully through my own comfort, I'm able to free myself up enough to, help out people around me, just the more I learn about myself, the more I can be available, so I'd say that's a goal of mine.
That's modest.
Yeah, I want you to be a judge on fucking Inkmaster. I got
he's-
some goals for you.
I got goals for him too. And he'll meet them, but he's too modest.
Yeah.
Andy, 5 years from now, where do you want to be?
Man. I don't know. I'm like a lot of you guys. I don't really like to think about where I will be. I just like to do it and hope I can, at least at some point, make myself think I achieved what I wanted to achieve. If that makes any sense. Like I'd love to be able to be self-sufficient and not require like a bank for a loan to go buy another house to flip, or be able to go on a crazy vacation to the moon.
Yeah, SpaceX.
Yeah, or the inner Earth, something crazy. Yeah, Elon Musk is the man.
I like
I
that.
know. I like to live and be able to do anything I want, so I don't really put goals that will prohibit that to happen. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
It does, actually.
I like that.
What about you?
5 years from now, I'm hoping that I still have hair, that I don't have to get another hair transplant. Also, I'm tired of spraying this top. I spray that fiber stuff in it that darkens up the hairline makes it look crispy. But if a rush of water came, if a rush of water came, my forehead would extend 3.5 inches, dude. But I don't know, man. I hope 5 years from now, I'm continuing to be in a state of progression. Like I truly want just what we already have in existence to be completely super self-sufficient and completely successful, and can grow to a capacity that we can help a large volume of people. Because I already lived my dream life. I believe that, and what could be more of a dream is more opportunity created through what we've already created. And I'd like to get muscles again one day. I'm tired of being skinny fat. That would be nice. You know what I mean? Maybe I too would like to grow a mustache. Have the confidence to.
You already have a mustache. You just have to get rid of everything else.
Yeah.
It's already there.
It is there.
It's there waiting.
It is waiting.
It wants to stand up.
Yeah. But that's really it. So I want to thank our guests, Awkward Andy, man, always great. You're gonna be a staple for this show.
Thank you,
Jimmy. Everybody check out Inkmaster. His IG handle is gonna be right here on the screen. Also that picture that he got for my birthday, we'll put a link in that over here. I want to thank you guys for coming on the show, man. This shit, I could talk to you guys for 5 hours. This has been incredible, and check out Inkmaster season. What season?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't even fucking matter. That's it. Peace.